Live from Hollywood, California, VJ Vernon Husky, the Big Vanilla Funnies, Unsportsmanlike Conduct.
Unsportsmanlike conduct.
Yeah. Top of the morning, what's good with everybody out there? Beautiful sunny day, clear skies. Expected about 70 degrees today out here in Los Angeles, California. You are listening live right now, VJ's Unsportsmanlike Conduct. I'm your host, VJ Vernon Husky, a.k.a. VJ Right. That's because I always think I am. A.k.a. Mr. 8515, a.k.a. the Big Vanilla Shack, the Big Vanilla Funny, the Big Vanilla Handsome, the Big Vanilla Madam, Blue-Eyed Barkley, Creamy Kobe, Mr. Never Shut Up, VA's Top Talk Boy, the Big Vanilla Color Card. Yes, color cards, and sometimes when you got a deck of them shits, they need to be dealt out, and I am your Vegas dealer when it comes to the color card. Big show for you guys today, man. We're going to talk NBA. We're going to talk James Harden and the scoring streak he's been on compared to Jordan, Wilt, the Mamba, and some of the other great players. I also want to talk about how times are changing in sports. I want to talk about the All-Star game voting. Some players that got snubbed. We'll talk about the Pro Bowl. We'll talk about the NFC, AFC championship games a little bit, leaning more forward towards headed to the Super Bowl. Well, I want to start the show this morning, man, and I want to thank everybody. I know we're running a little late this morning. I had to walk the dog. And those of you that know, when you got a dog, when the dog's got to go, the dog's got to go. So you got to walk the dog. So I had to walk my dog this morning, make sure he get all that out of his system while Daddy is doing work and doing the show here in the Vanilla Sports Bat Cave here, live in Los Angeles, California, Hollywood, doing my thing. I want to start my opening rant this morning and talk about how times are changing. And that leads me to James Harden. We all know James Harden has been on this prolific scoring rant. He has been tearing it up. He has 61 at the Garden, not Madison Square Garden. Back east, where I come from, the way we love hoops and love ball from the mid-Atlantic and the upper northeast regions of the country, New York, Pennsylvania, Philly, Connecticut, Boston, Massachusetts. You know them areas. We call it the Garden. Not the Garden, not Madison Square Garden. We just call it the Garden. Like THE, the GAUHN. Yeah, we'll just put it like that. We'll spell it like that, the Garden. But he put up 61 in the Garden, tying Kobe's visitor record for scoring points in the Garden. Carmelo Anthony has 62. He has the Garden record. We've seen Bernard King put up 60. Michael Jordan had the double nickel in 55 when he came back out of retirement in 1994. So we've seen some prolific scoring events in the NBA. And what James Harden is doing right now, I'm going to go out on a limb and just say, I don't think it is as impressive as a lot of other people do. And let me break it down for you. Allow me to land. Before you jump all over me, allow me to land. That's pimp talk. I learned that from a pimp out here in LA. He said, allow me to land, young buck. Allow me to land, young vanilla. Big vanilla funny. Allow me to land. When you be talking to me, that's how you be talking. He be, allow me to land. Ain't nothing in the middle of a hole, and what he saying? Nothing in the middle of a donut but a hole. I love that saying. Ain't nothing in the middle of a donut but a hole. You know what I'm saying, player? It just goes round and round nothing. That's when people beating around the bush, he say stuff like that. But let me land for a second. Times have changed in the NBA. I saw a stat last night that was really very, very alarming, where there have been almost the same amount of three-pointers taken this season so far than there was taken in the entire 2013-2014 NBA season. That's just 5 years ago. That's legitimately equally 5 NBA seasons ago. They are already almost to the three-point attempts taken by NBA teams and players at this point in the season on January 25th than they were for a complete 82-game season just 5 years ago. Times are changing. Teams shoot a lot more threes. Everybody wants to find the next Steph Curry. Teams are doing the step back. James Harden has mastered to be able to travel and do the step back three. He has more step-back threes. During this scoring rant he's been on, he has 48 step-back threes. 48 of them. That's not catch and shoot. That's not coming off the dribble. That's the patent, walk and travel, James Harden step-back three-point shot. 48 of them in the last 21 games. The closest player to that has 8 of them. in the last 21 games. Times are changing. We are seeing little to less or no defense played in the NBA. And I don't want to hear about people saying, well, they've never played defense in the NBA. That's bull. That's bull. If there was never defense played in the NBA, we wouldn't have had David Robinson. We wouldn't have had Tim Duncan. We wouldn't have had Dikembe Mutombo. He's got like 8 names. I don't know 8 of them, but he's got like 8 names. At one point, Adidas had a T-shirt out that had all his names on the T-shirt. He took the T-shirt to the Arsenio Hall show, and Arsenio Hall held it up and showed him the T-shirt. He was quick to point out that a name was missing. They had 8 names on the shirt. One was missing. Alonzo Mourning. You got to think about guys that were locked down defenders on the perimeter. Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, JoJo Dumars. There were players that would lock you up. Gary Payton got a shoe deal off of being a defensive point guard. His name was the Glove. Nike gave him a shoe called the Glove. The shoe actually went inside of another shoe and zipped up as like a glove. During Kobe's run in this scoring rant, when Kobe went on the same exact type of scoring rant, 50 points in 4 games, or the 40 points in 13 straight games. When Kobe went on that type of run, the league was averaging 97 points a game. The league now doing James Harden run is averaging 110 points a game. Times have changed. Reggie Miller was famous for kicking out his foot and drawing a defensive foul on jump shots. Denied it all through his career, but on Open Court, the TV show that comes on TNT, where the old players and some old coaches and Ernie Johnson sits there, and they all have discussions about the league today and what it used to be, and they talk about the great players and the great teams and how the league used to be and the great moments and all that good stuff. He sat there and admitted, he goes, okay, open book, yes, I kicked my leg out on purpose to draw the foul. But his thing was, if the referees are going to be stupid enough to call it, I'm going to keep doing it. The referees don't call James Harden for travel. That's why he keeps doing it. I'm not mad at James Harden for traveling. LeBron is famous for traveling. A lot of NBA players are famous for traveling. People get to take extra steps. Even in the post. Watch a post move in the NBA today. Their foot slides all over. Their pivot foot slides all over the place. Even when I played Dell City Rec League back in the late 80s, early 90s, back in Dell City in Woodbridge, Virginia, you couldn't slide that foot around. We got called for traveling. And there are a few times I throw my hands in the air, look at the coach and say, hey, I didn't travel. Coach will look and say, you slid your pivot foot, V. Times have changed. The NBA is all about offense. I had a conversation with a friend of mine who actually is going to be on the show next week, who told me he hasn't watched the NBA since 2001. Fellow comedian out in New York. And I asked him why. His answer was very simple. He said it turned to street ball. And I said, well, you have to elaborate to me what street ball is to you, because street ball is different to everybody. What if I don't know what street ball is? Are we talking and one? Are we talking mixtape? Are we talking Rucker Park? Are we talking Skip the Malou? Are we talking hot sauce? Are we talking the Professor? Are we talking Escalade? Like, what street ball? We talking Above the Rim? The movie? What street ball? We talking White Man Can't Jump with Sidney Dean and Billy Hoyle and Gloria? She was so damn fine in that movie. But you got to tell me what street ball is. And he said, too much ISO, not passing, no ball movement. It's just kind of one-on-one and go. And now the super team has kind of ruined the NBA to me. I grew up more at the time, and he's an older guy. I think he's slightly older than me. And he said, I grew up at a time where there was team ball. People could try to point out Jordan all they want to. People forget there were years Jordan averaged 5 assists, 6 assists, 7 assists, 8 assists a night. Jordan had those kind of seasons. Jordan had those kind of runs. When he won the Defensive Player of the Year and the MVP and the All-Star Game MVP in 1988, Jordan was 37, I believe 7-7. I'll double check that real quick. I don't have that stat right up in front of me. I'm going off the cuff. So there was a time when scores did move the ball and did pass the ball. And I'm not saying that's not what James Harden is doing, because James Harden is averaging over 8 assists a game. But times are changing to where now scoring has become the norm in the NBA. Scoring, to me, isn't really impressive in the NBA anymore as it used to be. If you look at the top 5 scorers in the NBA right now, James Harden, 36, Steph Curry, 29, AD, 29, KD, 27, Kawhi, 27. It's been a while since we had 5 guys in the league that were basically kissing the cusp of 30. Let's just call Curry and Anthony Davis at 30 a game. They're both at 29.5, 29.3. I always say 29.5 and up. I round up to the next number, 20, and whatever the number is, 29, and say 5 and under, or 21, or 12, whether we're talking rebounds or assists. Anything 0.5 and under, I round down. Anything 0.5 and up, I round up. So let's just say you got 2 players averaging 30 right now in the league. Not a lot of defense being played. There's only 2 teams that are allowing less than 100 points a game, and that's at 98 and 99 points a game. Every NBA team is giving up over 100 points a game. It has a lot to do with officiating. It has a lot to do with the way they're trying to make the game more watchable. I told people 3-4 years ago, watch how the NBA starts to turn. Watch how the NBA starts to turn in the way of there will be no defense. Guys are going to be able to just drive to the basket or shoot the 3. You can't touch a guy. You can't defend a guy. Times have changed. Times have also changed, too, in the favor of James Harden, because I'm not going to bang on him completely, but in the favor of James Harden, you have not ever seen a player have that type of point output with 23s and with 20 free throws. It's never happened before. He's mastered getting to the line. Let's just call it what it is. Whether you don't think he gets fouled or whether he kind of flails into people or whatever. Kobe never got to the line like this. Jordan never got to the line like this. LeBron never got to the line like this. Bird never got to the line like this. Shaq never got to the line like this. And Shaq got hacked the hell out of. Ewing, Olajuwon, David Robinson, any great big man, Tim Duncan, I can name, Dirk. Dwayne Wade got to the line a lot when he was young, but towards the middle of his career, and definitely now, and in the most recent latter years, Dwayne Wade doesn't get to the line like that. He has mastered getting to the line. The game has changed to where I believe officials blow whistles when they believe they see calls, and they believe they see fouls. I believe officiating has always been a little finicky in the NBA, but I think now it's really just changed and morphed into, if we think he got fouled, we're going to blow the whistle. Which, in my opinion, is wrong, because you can only blow a whistle if you see a foul. Blow the whistle for what your eyes see. I think the same in football. I think the same in baseball. If you saw he was safe, he's safe. If you saw he was out, he's out. Don't go with what you think you saw. Go with what you saw. But times have changed in sports. The NBA is hemorrhaging. People try to act like it's not. Yes, it is. The ratings are down. The revenue is down. Now, fans are still going to go out. Fans are still going to watch games. Fans are still going to do things that are going to make it look like the NBA is still at an all-time popular high, because we are sheep by nature. We are zombies by nature. You come home, you do the same thing every day, most times. You get up in the morning, you do the same thing in the morning, most times. You watch the same TV shows in the morning, most times. You watch the same TV shows at night, most times. You listen to the same radio show when you're driving to and from work, most days. We are sheep. Even if there's somebody else that's got a better product, better show, more information, more entertaining, you will turn that down to 93.9, 95.5, 107, 710 ESPN, 1080 ESPN. You'll wake up and watch First Take, even though First Take, in my opinion, is one of the worst sports talk debate shows on TV right now. It has been for years. But people will still tune in because we are just sheep by nature. Doesn't mean the product is better. How many people out there watch porn? We're going to get adult here today, okay? How many people watch adult content on their cell phones? You've seen those videos 1,000 times. They don't put up new videos all the time. You've seen the same videos. And if you try to go to another website, they got the same videos over there. But you are sheep by nature. We are sheep and zombies by nature. We will continue to support things even though the product lessens. We go to McDonald's still. People will still eat McDonald's. Even though there's all the information out there that it's poisoned food. And some of it's not even food, and it causes cancer, and it's killing people, and it's making children obese, and it's giving children and people in their early 20s and even middle age type 2 diabetes, which you can die from. I still drive by a McDonald's and the drive-through line is still down the block. We are sheep by nature. But I believe a lot of the NBA changes, a lot of the scoring, it comes from trying to draw eyes back to the league because people like scoring. People say, well, I don't want to watch a 91 to 87 game. Why not? That means people are playing defense. That means people are smacking the floor. They're grabbing the bottom of their shorts, getting down on D, locking down, ripping people in the open court, stopping people, blocking shots, playing some real hard-nosed, ball-to-the-wall, basketball defense. And guys over 35, that's what we grew up with. We grew up with the hand check. We grew up where you can at least have a hand on a guy. It's like the NFL with receivers and defensive backs. No wonder the receiving and passing yards have shot through the roof over the last 10 years. You can't touch a receiver past 5 yards. I don't care how great of a corner you are. There's only maybe three guys in the league who can really cover, truly cover on an NFL level after 5 yards without touching another upper echelon receiver. First of all, you're running backwards or you're running sideways. They're running forward in full speed. They know where they're going. You don't. You have to be reactionary. Times have just completely changed in the NBA. And guys like James Harden is taking advantage of it. I do not find it as impressive as other people do, but it is still enjoyable to see points go up. I get that part of it from the masses. But you cannot tell me this makes a better product. And times have also changed it too, because we've never seen somebody lead the league in scoring and lead the league in assists too. And James Harden is going to end up doing that. And he might be on his way to another MVP. Times are also changing. I want to flip over to Major League Baseball Hall of Fame that was recently conducted. Congratulations to Roy Halladay, Mike Mussina, the best closer of all time. And I'm a Yankee hater. But there was nobody that could come in and close a baseball game in the history of baseball on any planet, on any continent, in any country, in any city, state, town, or stadium than Mariano Rivera. Nobody was better. So congratulations to that gentleman too. But times are changing because Barry Bonds is up to 59%. You need 79, 75, I believe it is, to get in. There was a time when Barry Bonds was in the 20s, percentage-wise. Barry Bonds is creeping up. Times are changing. People are starting to understand that there is going to be cheating. There's going to be corruption. There's going to be things that should not happen in certain things that we thoroughly enjoy as far as entertainment value is concerned. Look at Hollywood. We're finding out, and a lot of people already knew, and I see it on a daily being out here in Hollywood myself, that there are a lot of devilish things that go on in Hollywood conducted by people that you support, that you watch. You support their films, you support their TV show, you support their movies. You have no idea the devilish things in the dirt that goes on in Hollywood. But times are changing to where people see it, they understand it, they know it's going to happen, and maybe some people are sitting around and saying, well, what the hell can I do about it? I don't know. But I know for a fact that people are starting to open their eyes to a lot of things. And people know that in baseball, in the late 90s, Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa saved baseball. Whether you like them or not, or you agree with their tactics or not, they flat out saved baseball. If you're old enough to remember, baseball was coming off of a strike. They were coming off of a strike. Ratings were down. Attendance was down. It was bad. Baseball was hemorrhaging. It was like the NBA in the early 80s, man. It was hemorrhaging. Bad. It was on life support. Whether people want to know that or not, or admit it or not, go back and look it up. It was bad. Magic and Bird saved the NBA. Jordan re-elevated it to the level that it is today, and then it's just been passed on and passed on. You had the Rockets and the Olajuwon go back-to-back. Jordan came back, won 3 in a row. Then we got the Spurs and the Lakers and Kobe and Shaq dynasty going, and then you threw the Pistons in there in 04, and then the Lakers came back again. Then Shaq got traded, went to the Heat, so there was another team that was really good. Then LeBron came in the league, and Durant came in the league, and Carmelo came in the league, and LeBron went to Miami and won some championships. That elevated it even more. That's just the way it started back in the late 70s, early 80s, though. And in the late 90s, baseball was hemorrhaging. They were in a lot of trouble, and Sosa and McGuire saved the league. We all knew they were juicing. You had pitchers juicing. Andy Pettitte got caught juicing. Brian Braun, who won an MVP, got caught juicing. There's been players suspended for 50 games, 120 games. There's been players that have been suspended now. They can't come back. They have to appeal, and they have to apply to come back into Major League Baseball. We know that the steroids were there. But times are changing now that people understood what that era was. It was great to watch whether you like the steroids or not. I'm not a cheater. I don't like cheating in sports. That's why Ken Griffey Jr. is still my favorite player of all time in Major League Baseball, and I will stand on this to the day that I die. He is the best 5-tool player I ever saw, and it's not even close. Bonds could hit, Bonds could run, Bonds could not play the field like Ken Griffey can. Your best athlete plays shortstop or center field. He was one of the greatest center fielders we ever saw. And in my eyes, and for my money, the greatest 5-tool player I ever saw. And I saw him play live when he was a youngster and hit a home run in the game. I remember the home run derby in Baltimore when they first opened Camden Yards. Ken Griffey Jr. was hitting the warehouse across the street. Balls were leaving the parks for Griffey before they were leaving the parks for anybody else. But Bonds was a 40-40 guy in Pittsburgh before the steroids. He was hitting 40 home runs and stealing 40 bases before he started doing the roids. He was a Hall of Famer before the steroids. He's only being kept out now because he's attached to that era of steroids. But times are changing. The percentage is going up every year. And I give it another 4, maybe 5 years, Barry Bonds will be in the Hall of Fame, because at that point, we will have been 25 years removed from that era. It's like LeBron in the decision. No one cares anymore. I'm not a LeBron fan. I don't care anymore. Sooner or later, people aren't going to care that Durant went to the Warriors. Nobody cares. Times change. People move on. Look at the Patriots. They're in their 9th Super Bowl since Tom Brady's been their quarterback. And really, only the hardcore Brady and Patriot haters don't want to see him win, still talk about Spygate or Deflategate. Most football fans don't care. I can't stand the Patriots. I'm a Dolphin fan, lifelong Dolphin fan. Always have been, always will be. I don't care about Deflategate anymore. I don't care about Spygate anymore. I don't. It's the past. You live in the past in sports. You live in the past in your life sometimes. That's what I think. I think people who live in the past in sports are the same people who live in the past in their own lives. That's why you manifest that subconsciously in your brain to keep bringing it up and to keep talking about it. But times are changing, and Bonds is going to get into the Hall of Fame one day, and I hope and pray to the good big man upstairs that I'm still around to see it happen. Times are also changing in the NFL as it comes to diva wide receivers. Yesterday, Antonio Brown, former or current receiver of the Pittsburgh Steelers, however you want to phrase it, who knows what's going to happen, but he tweeted, "Open for business." I immediately went to my social media and I immediately put out, would you want Antonio Brown on your football team? Thoughts. And just wanted to see what the response was from people. Because I am almost 100%, I'm about 85% to it now, but I am almost creeping up towards more of 100%. You do not need a diva wide receiver to win the Super Bowl. Ask the New England Patriots. Ask the Philadelphia Eagles. You don't. The best receivers in the league don't get to the Super Bowl. Antonio Brown, not in the Super Bowl. Odell Beckham, not in the Super Bowl. Julio Jones was in one, but he lost. He doesn't have a ring. Randy Moss, for my book, greatest receiver ever. I know many say Rice. I'll just take Moss. You can have Rice and I get Moss, and guess what? I'm still going to get just as many accolades and stats as your guy. It's my example I use with the LeBron, Jordan, Kobe argument. If you have the number 1 pick and somebody else has got the number 2 pick and I got the number 3 pick and number 1 takes Jordan and number 2 takes LeBron and I take Kobe, we all won. We all win. We all are going to get championships. Just Jordan's going to get 6. Kobe's going to get 5. LeBron's going to get 3. They're all 3 going to be top 5 in scoring. LeBron's going to be top 10 probably in assists. Top 10 in rebounds. Or at least top 12, top 13. I'm not sure where he is right now. As far as the all-time rebounders, we're all going to win. So if you want Rice, take Rice. I'll take Moss. But Moss doesn't have a Super Bowl ring. Tim Brown, another great legendary receiver. No Super Bowl ring. Chris Carter, another great legendary Hall of Fame receiver. No Super Bowl ring. Andre Reed, no Super Bowl ring. I can go on and on. I can go down. Des Bryant was a great receiver. No Super Bowl ring. No Super Bowl appearances. Times have changed and are changing in the NFL. You can throw all you want. And I brought this up when I did my demo audition for Dash Radio about a month ago, maybe a month and a half ago. I did a demo radio show for Dash Radio, and I started off by saying how the better teams in the NFL and the teams that are always going to be there standing in the end are the teams that still understand Football 101. Football 101 in the VJ Vernon Husky Book of Football is run the ball, stop the run. Everything else comes after that. The big passing teams, the air it out teams, how'd that work for the Saints? How'd that work for the Chiefs? How'd that work for the Chargers? Look at the passing teams in the NFL. Look at the teams that, this new innovative offense to sling it around all the time. Where are they? You know who's in the Super Bowl? The team with the second leading rusher in the NFL, and then the team that just ran for 176 on the road, in the cold, in a hostile environment against the number 1 seed in the AFC Championship game. After running for 169 the previous week against a top 6 defense that the Chargers boast. Run the football, stop the run. You do not need a diva receiver to win the Super Bowl. Times are changing where I think a lot of teams are starting to see that. The Giants have paid Odell Beckham all that money. I said a year and a half ago on this show, on any other outlet that I do, any other network or sports talk show that I do, when I fill in for friends or do other people's shows that I know as a special guest, the minute they signed him to that contract, they were going to at least start to think about trading him. They signed him so he wouldn't leave and they got nothing. They're going to move Odell Beckham Jr. He will not be a Giant past the next trading deadline, especially if they do not address the offensive line issues and the quarterback issue and Eli. Eli's been cool. Eli's been good. Eli's been great some days, some Sundays, some Thursdays, some Monday nights, some Saturday afternoons when they play late in the season and they schedule some Saturday games. He's got 2 Super Bowl rings. I get it. But times change and time moves on. And he's been a shell of himself for 4 years. They will move Odell Beckham Jr. And I guarantee you, when they do it, they're going to be better for it. Because they don't have the diva receiver who needs the ball, who needs the attention. And I've always said it. I believe Odell Beckham Jr. cares more about being a celebrity than he truly does about being a professional football player. Just my opinion. Does he still go out and grind on Sundays? Yes. Does he still tear up defensive backs' asses? Yes. Doesn't mean he doesn't like that celebrity life. And sometimes people use their God-given gift as a vessel to get to something else. I know a lot of comedians out here in LA who disrespect the comedy game and the craft of comedy because they're just really doing it just to try to get in movies and get on TV. There's been some comedians that have recently retired, and I'm doing the air quotes here. You can't see because I'm on radio, but we're doing the air quotes on here. There are some receivers that have so-called comedians that have retired because they made it to the movies and made it to TV now. So you weren't really into the comedy part of it. You were using that just as a vessel. You were using your God-given gift as a vessel to get to something else that you might not even be that great in. But because of stardom, money, attention, I've seen this happen with my own eyes, and I've seen it with the NFL, with the NBA, Major League Baseball. Every athlete that's an athlete is not an athlete because they really want to be an athlete. They're using it maybe to try to get to another vessel in life, which is fine. I can't tell another grown man how to live. But it is what it is, as my dad likes to say. But times are changing where the diva receiver, I honestly believe if you are a smart football coach, you do not need the number one superstar diva receiver. You get 3 or 4 guys that can keep their mouth shut and that can run routes well and that'll block or run a plays for you and don't have to make it all about them and catch the damn football. That's it. Look at the Patriots. Let's get real. Let's get really real here. Nobody wanted Hogan. He's in the Super Bowl with the Patriots. Nobody wanted Edelman. He was an undrafted kid. He was a quarterback in college at a mid-major. Nobody wanted Edelman. Nobody wanted Wes Welker. Wes Welker was with San Diego. San Diego cut him. He went to the Dolphins. The Dolphins ain't know what to do with him and cut him. The Patriots pick him right up, plug him right in, and he goes for 1,000 yards for like 4 or 5 straight years. Just reliable. You don't need the big-time diva receiver. And when the Patriots had Randy Moss, he wasn't a diva, but he was a diva in other places and beforehand. But he did play by the Patriot rules and go by the Patriot way when he was there. And they went 18-0 into the last game. They didn't win the championship with the big-time diva receiver. Times have changed. You don't need them to win the championship. And when times are changing, I'll move on and segue into the Pro Bowl and the All-Star game. And we'll get a little more into the All-Star game. But all I want to say about these 2 games is that there was a day where these 2 games actually, even though they don't mean anything, but they still meant something. If that makes any sense. They don't mean anything, but they still meant something. There was a day where the Pro Bowl guys, receivers would complain about not getting the ball thrown to them in the Pro Bowl. When you watch it now, it is a complete joke. It is a complete mockery of the NFL football game. And just football as a whole. It's a mockery. And I get it. Guys don't want to play hard. Guys don't want to tackle. Guys don't want to get hurt. My coach, Coach Covington, used to always tell me back in the day, you get hurt when you're not going full speed, when you're trying to lay off. If you're coming up to make a tackle, the guy who slows down first is the one who's getting ran over. And if you slow down and tense up, that's when you're going to get hurt. You got to be loose. You got to play loose. Your body, God made the body an amazing reactionary machine. Your body knows how to absorb a hit if you let it loose. Like they say in car accidents, drunk drivers never get hurt. The people who get hurt and killed are the ones that see the accident coming and tense up. Those are the ones that end up in the hospital. And those are the ones that end up in the caskets. It's the same thesis. But when you look at these 2 games, the All-Star game, it used to mean something even though the game didn't mean anything. They didn't wait till the last 2 minutes to play hard. I used to watch All-Star games where they play hard the whole damn game. Because it was a way to go out against the best in the league, all the other top players, before this fan vote bullshit, which is ridiculous because there are guys that are in the All-Star game who should not be in the All-Star game. The All-Star game should be guys who are cool playing at a high level and have been on the court. If you miss a month of the first half going into the All-Star game, you miss more than a month, you shouldn't be able to play in the All-Star game. I don't think coaches would actually vote certain players in. It's the fans that still vote them in. Even when Kobe got voted into the All-Star game, Kobe wasn't an All-Star player. And I'm a Kobe guy. Or was. I mean, he doesn't play anymore, so I've let Kobe go. He doesn't play anymore. I watch his script. I watch his animated stuff now. I'm watching what he's doing in the film industry now. I don't even go back and watch highlights or Kobe games if he's gone. But he wasn't an all-star. And I understand that you do it towards the end of some players' careers. I understand it's more of a favorable thing. It's more of a what have you done. It's about what you've done, not what you are going to do type atmosphere a lot of times. When it comes to some of the games and stuff like that, I get it. I totally understand and I totally get it. But it does not mean that it's right. I think LeBron James should not be a starter. How is he a starter? He's missed the last month. And that's not LeBron banging, because I just said Kobe didn't deserve to start in the year that he started. Like, if it was his last season, his last year, the fans voted him in. But if you go look at the numbers, you look at production, he wasn't an all-star player anymore. He was in year 20. Coming off the rotator cuff, coming off the Achilles. He was just trying to get through the year because he didn't want to go out injured. He didn't want to go out like that. And I can respect that. I can respect that on the respect. It's a little Martin for y'all right there. I can respect that on the respect. But this idea that you let the fans vote, oh, it's about what the fans want to see. It's about what the fans want to see. You see these players 82 games a year. I don't want to hear that. It's about who the fans want to see. If it's about what the fans want to see, start calling travel. Start calling double dribble. Stop letting guys flop all over the place and draw cheap fouls that aren't really fouls. If you really, truly care about what the fans want to see. These two games are easily, right now, I am of the opinion that they are the worst two sporting events in sports, in all of sports right now, is the Pro Bowl and the All-Star game. Times have changed. The game isn't good. The competition isn't good. Now you got guys that don't want to play in the Pro Bowl because they get eliminated in the playoffs. Now Drew Brees doesn't want to play, and Michael Thomas doesn't want to play. So you put in Jarvis Landry, and you put in Dak Prescott, and you put in guys who didn't originally make the Pro Bowl. So now, instead of saying, well, they only take 2 or 3 quarterbacks, no, you take 6 because 2 of them don't want to play. So you get guys into the Pro Bowl now who probably don't even really deserve to be in the Pro Bowl. It's a bad product. They're 2 really bad games. Both leagues need to stop. They need to add some extra incentive to it. NBA All-Star Weekend is a joke, period. We got one good year of a dunk contest between Aaron Gordon and Zach LaVine and everybody, Kenny Smith and all the team. Oh, the dunk contest is back, baby. It's not. We had one good night out of the last 12 years since Vince Carter. You could throw Jason Richardson and Andre Iguodala years in there, but even in those dunk contests, Desmond Mason, but even in those dunk contests, dudes took 30 damn attempts to make a dunk. Nate Robinson, the Dwight Howard Nate Robinson battle was good. I'll give it that. I'll give you that. I give you NBA lovers that. You dunk contest fans that. I'll give you that. But we can honestly, unequivocally say that 3 of the last 15 dunk contests have been garbage. Guys are too cool. They don't really go out and warm up and dunk. They stand around talking. They got to be cool because now it's a big show. And you got all the celebs and Kevin Hart is sitting there and Anthony Anderson and Denzel and Will Smith and all the Gabrielle Union and Beyonce and Jay-Z. And now you got to be cool. Now I can't warm up. I gotta dap up and talk and chill with the rappers. And there's Future sitting over there. And there's Meek Mill over there. And there's French Montana and DJ Khaled. Yeah, I gotta be cool now. The skills competition is pretty good. I like the skills competition. I give it that. It's too short. You blink twice and you take a sneeze and you go get a glass of red Kool-Aid and next thing you know, the skills competition's over. 3-point shootout, The Steph and Clay back-to-back years, finals, okay, all right. But we see that in the regular season. And I feel like I'm just watching them, but they do that in pregame. There's nothing special about it anymore. And it used to mean something. And now both of them are just putrid sporting events, and they're the worst. And the last part of my rant to open up today's VJs on Sportsmanlike Conduct live on Spreaker.com, talking about times have changed, is how superstars, when they're missing time, back in the day, it used to hurt the league. When Jordan broke his foot and missed 67 games, I believe, or 69 games, it hurt the league. Whether people want to admit it or not, when Kobe went down and was hurt the league. People want to see Kobe, whether you like it or not. There was I never remember hearing Kobe fatigue. Now, this is also before smartphones. This is also before social media, because smartphones are only 11 years old. A lot of people do not realize that. Smartphones hit the world in 2008. Is when smartphones really became accessible to anybody who wanted a smartphone. So it's only been 11 years, and not even fully 11 years. So we didn't have the 24-hour news cycle, everything updated all the time, on point, without fail, never miss. We didn't have that type of news cycle back then, like we do now. So there is a parallel comparison that you can use there. I'll give you that. Fine. But I say that to say times have changed because superstars miss time now. And just to show you how down the NBA is, it kind of goes right along and all sometimes gets a little better. And I say that to say that LeBron James has been out for the last month. He got hurt on Christmas, December 25th. It's the last time he's played. It's January 25th. It's been one full month, 1 month. You can't tell me that even though I don't agree with the James Harden story, it hasn't made the NBA more interesting. How about Paul George and what Paul George is doing in Oklahoma City? We're hearing more about that now. I bang on the coverage of sports because I believe it's so fugazi nowadays. These sports talk shows and these debate shows, they talk about the same 4 or 5 things every day, all the time. Undisputed, First Take. I'm sorry, they're horrible. They need some new life. Or talk about some other things that's going on. There's other things going on in the NBA. Trust me. I know that may be hard to believe, but it is. Because leading up to Christmas, every single day was Anthony Davis is coming to the Lakers. LeBron's going to get Anthony Davis. The Lakers need Anthony Davis. Every damn day. I'm so glad that we have not had to hear that because we get to actually see the job that Blake Griffin's doing in Detroit. And listen, salute, I'm a Pistons fan. I'm still not a Blake fan, but I will give props where props is always due when they're deserved. What he's doing for Detroit is impressive. I've said years ago when they made the trade for Reggie Jackson, they need to move Reggie Jackson. That guy's not even, in my opinion, that guy's not even a good NBA point guard. He's average as hell. And I don't care what team it's on. I don't care who he's playing for or whatever. I honestly, truly believe he is an average NBA point guard. But shout out to Blake Griffin and what Blake Griffin has been doing for my Pistons. I'm still not a Blake fan. I still believe I've seen Blake before. I still believe I've seen Blake in a Charles Barkley mode or Sean Kemp or Karl Malone. Karl Malone didn't have the 3, but Forrest didn't shoot the 3 back then. But there is a line of credit that needs to be dealt out to Blake Griffin and what he's been doing. But the Pistons, they got more moves they got to make. Reggie Jackson must go. He's a problem. Doesn't play D. Can't shoot for shit. Not a good passer. I'm trying to figure out what anybody thinks Reggie Jackson does well as an NBA player. To me, he's an average guard. He's not even good. Lonzo Ball's good, Reggie Jackson's not even better than Lonzo Ball. And I think Lonzo Ball is borderline average good. I would put him in the good category because he passes so beautifully. I'm not a Lonzo Ball guy. I'm not a Lonzo Ball fan. But I can appreciate the way that kid dishes out the rock. But when you do look at the league, and you do look at the fact that LeBron has been out for the last month, you cannot tell me it has allowed us to enjoy some of the other storylines. Everything isn't LeBron. We've been able to enjoy, not me, but you guys have been able to enjoy James Harden. Russell Westbrook is on his way to another triple-double. You know the next thing for Russ is going to be a 20-20-20 game. The other night, I think it was last night before last, he had 27, 16, and 15. The next stature for him is 20, 20, and 20. He's going to do that. We've been able to enjoy Philly. We've been able to enjoy Denver. We've been able to enjoy Milwaukee. And I'm never for nobody being hurt. I'm not. But as a non-LeBron guy, I will say I have been very, very pleased with the NBA coverage, because I always bang on the media and the way they cover sports nowadays. But I am very pleased the way we have shifted away from one guy and one story. And if you really think about it, all the stories that come up, like when they walked in with the wine, I didn't care. I thought that was nothing. I thought that was much to do about nothing. Oh, so what? You're going to show an athlete coming in with alcohol? Oh, this guy that, listen, man, it's a glass of wine. I don't even consider that alcohol. I consider I call that like grown-up juice. That's not alcohol. Now, if he walked in with a bottle of Henny, then you might have a complaint. And he's drinking Patron out the bottle, then you can be able to bitch, moan, piss, and complain. But it's a glass of wine. I love wine. It's good for the blood. It's good for the heart. He's got the kind of money to drink the wine that I wish I had the money to drink the wine that he drinks. But stories like that, it's overload. Who gives a shit? Who cares? But the Anthony Davis stuff just drove me insane. Where we already got Anthony Davis out of New Orleans. And I'll finish this thought up on this because I want to bring in my special guest, a really good friend of mine who's doing his thing in broadcasting and sports coverage pretty much all up and down the West Coast out here. I got him on hold right now, so I want to finish up my thought here. But this is the same Anthony Davis who had the Pelicans in the second round last year. That's just 7-8 months ago. And all of a sudden, he's this unhappy player. That's an example of today's weak-minded athlete. I honestly believe that he let LeBron and Chris Broussard and a lot of these other media guys get in his head to kind of throw a little temper tantrum and attitude to force his way out so we could give LeBron another all-star player or another great player to play with. Even though the Lakers in Magic, in Genie, and LeBron himself all verbally told us in August and July, and I told you guys it was bullshit, that we're going to be patient this year. This is the year that LeBron's going to get a pass because of the guys he's got around him. And it wasn't 12 games before he had an interview where he said he had to really check, he had to really calm himself down. He had to really, give me a break. But times have changed. When the big storyline guy goes out, it gives us a chance, in my opinion, to enjoy the league. And with that being said, times have also changed for me. Because this past fall, I started really living more of my dreams of sports and entertainment. I started calling high school football games here in CIF in Southern California. I had the pleasure of calling the number one team in the nation, John Bosco Prep. High school out here. So it's a private school where they recruit kids. And you guys know DeMatha, your Modern Days, your IMG academies, the big academies of school. But they were ranked number one most of the year. Got a chance to cover them for Max Prep Sports and Prep Sports Nation. Got a chance to do some other games. Got a chance to do Thousand Oaks that had the number one player, Tavon Thibodeau, who's going to go up to Oregon. Michigan running back, Zach Charbonnet, who's headed off to Michigan to play running back. And then I got a chance to actually go on the campus of the great John Madden and call my first Division I college football game as a color commentary for ESPN Radio and for Learfield Communication, all because of a good gentleman that I met through another friend of mine in sports, who is my guest right now. He is the voice of Cal Poly sports, baseball, basketball, football, badminton, skeet shooting, chess club, drama club. I mean, I think when they have like fundraisers, they get him out there to make him get on the radio and talk. He's got one of the best radio voices I've ever heard. He's not the greatest communicator because I'm tired of texting him and not getting messages back from his ass. So I build him up. You know how I do. I build him up to tear him down. So, but welcoming in from Cal Poly Sports, the voice of Cal Poly Sports Mustangs, and from ESPN Radio 1080 up there, and San Luis Obispo, known for their great tri-tip, my man, Mr. Chris Sylvester. What's going on, buddy?
You really like the tri-tip, huh?
Man, listen, did I not leave the booth to go get the tri-tip when y'all was eating cold pulled pork sandwiches?
You did. I remember that.
I came back with the arugula salad with the strawberry dressing. I wasn't playing. You know, you went up in the president's suite
as if you were the president.
Yeah, sure did. Walked right in. Well, listen, I'm a firm believer, man. When you look good, you smell good, you feel good, you can walk in anywhere you want to as long as you act like you belong.
Hey, I mean, I think you're the classic example of that. You walk up anywhere, nobody looks at you funny.
No, not at all. Well, I mean, being 6'2.5", 6'3", 280, that helps too. Not a lot of people, look to stop me when I'm walking in somewhere.
Hey man, it's big Vanilla Madden. They've seen John Madden before, so
yeah.
I think they recognize when they see something similar.
Yes, sir, man. I'm not sure if you were listening live. I started my show with an open rant about how times have changed in sports. So what I'll do is I'll recap, and you just tell me some of the things that you think about the topics we'll go on here. I mean, we can keep you as long as you can stay, man. So I got a few things I want to hit you with. But first of all, let's start with James Harden. And my premise on that is that, times have changed where I think we're going to see more scoring like this. Right now, we're looking at James at 36 a game. Steph and Anthony are at 30 a game. Kevin Durant's at 28. Kawhi's right behind him at 27 and a half. And, lack of defense, you're allowed to travel. You're allowed to do a lot of things. He gets to the line better. I think he's mastered getting to the line. Nobody gets to the line better than him. But just over this 21 games, I'll give you the floor right now. What has been your thoughts about James Harden and how the NBA has handled it, and where are we going with this type of outpour of scoring we're seeing from guys this year?
Yeah, it's interesting because you have what Harden is doing, and the most astonishing stat to me isn't necessarily the points or the free throws or the 3-point attempts that he's taking in individual games. It's the lack of field goals that he is assisted on, and the lack of, rather the excess of dribbles that he's taking to create these shots for himself. I mean, you had that performance this past weekend with Klay Thompson where he had 44 points, and all 44 points were assisted on. And I believe he only took 4 dribbles, something along the lines of that. So, I mean, there's different ways to do it. There's different ways to have a big night. Obviously, James Harden, especially lately without Chris Paul, kind of feels like he has to do it himself. And what's interesting about it, and not to knock James Harden, because I really appreciate what he's doing, I think it's awesome. I mean, he's taken 38 shots last time out in a 61-point performance. I mean, anybody to score 61 points, you got to take dang near 38 shots. 5 of 20 from the 3-point line, 15 rebounds, so he's still getting his hands dirty with everybody else. But it's interesting the way that they're winning games. I've never been a huge fan of Mike D'Antoni. I don't think he's necessarily a bad coach. I know this might sound cliche, I just don't think he's a championship coach. I don't think his style is ever going to get one of his teams to the finals. And I know he was close last year. Should Chris Paul not have gotten hurt, they probably get by Golden State last year. But, that's irrelevant at this point. But giving up 145 to the Nets, 134 to the Lakers, 121 to the Sixers, 110 to the Knicks, barely beating the Knicks. The Knicks who are tanking badly, the Knicks that are telling teams game in and game out, we want to lose. We want a top 5 pick. Please, please, please beat us tonight. Please beat us tonight.
Oh, you mean that same Knicks team who thought Tisdale was their answer at the head coach? Yeah, that Knicks team. Yeah, I remember them.
Yeah, I mean, it's one that they're without Porzingis, and I understand that. I don't think they're a whole lot better with him. I think they're hoping that somehow, some way, that a superstar or two is delusional enough this summer to say, "Hey, I want to go play at Madison Square Garden for 4 or 5 years." But I mean, back to Harden. I mean, and it's easy for guys like you and I to get off topic, but. I think it's something for NBA fans to appreciate, and I agree. I think it's something we're going to see more of, the pure scorer that just kind of does this on a nightly basis, like you were talking about before I hopped on with Westbrook. How what's next for him is a 20-20-20 type game. So I think that as the scoring continues to go up in the NBA, we're going to see. And it still surprises me, BJ. I mean, I know you wake up sometimes in the morning, you see these box scores, and man, what was it? I think a couple weeks ago, one that really stood out to me. In regulation, the Warriors beat the Pelicans 149 to 141.
Yeah, I'm
just sitting there, and I watch a lot of college basketball.
It was down. Excuse me, it was down 20 points at one point in that game.
Right, and so I've talked to college coaches about it, because the scoring is going up in college too. It's never going to get to that point, obviously, because you have 40-minute games, 2 20-minute halves. But having watched college basketball more than I watched the NBA, it's just interesting how a 20-point deficit in college hoops, even with ample time on the clock, is almost impossible to erase. In the NBA, it's not that crazy to get down 22-5 in the first quarter and then win the game by 15 points. And I mean, it's just the culture, and everyone's talking about it. Everyone's been talking about it, but it's the Steph Curry culture. Let me pull up from the logo. Let me catch and shoot this, with 5 seconds off the shot clock. So, and these are professional basketball players. These are the best basketball players in the world. So they're hitting these shots. And I mean, to come down from 20 points, come all the way back, I mean, those are the shots that you're going to need to hit. And so, yeah, man, the game is absolutely changing right before our eyes. And I mean, how far are we away from seeing someone, not someone, but a team drop 200 points?
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to happen in an All-Star game. Remember, they got close last year. Was it last year like 195? Didn't the West put up 190-something last year in the All-Star game?
Yeah.
That was at 100 points in the first half.
I mean, the All-Star game in the NBA is...
We'll get to that, too, because I banged on that earlier in my rant, too. Let me ask you this. Is this brand of basketball, though, good or bad?
I think it's good for fans. I think a lot of fans like scoring. I think in any sport you want to see scoring. I think, baseball steroid era was put the butts in seats when after the strike, because there was a lot of home runs. There was a lot of scoring. I think the NFL, the most fun I have watching the NFL, and you might disagree with me, and I know I come from a different generation, but man, the most fun I had watching the NFL game this year was when the Chiefs and Rams had that Monday night game that was like 52-49. I thought that was a blast. That was awesome. For the youth, I don't think it's good. The way that some of these guys are playing, you're going to have kids with far less talent that have talent, but far less talent trying to do these things and hurting themselves and their potential futures playing the game of basketball. You're going to have, kids thinking they can step out from 30 feet and just knock down shots casually, and then that might not be their strength. Their strength might be getting to the low post, getting to the paint, finishing around the rim. Those guys like DeMar DeRozan, for example. DeMar DeRozan is now, I mean, he is a master of the mid-range jumper.
Yeah.
And there are not many guards in the NBA right now that are just killing it, mid-range number. Sean Livingston comes to mind. D-Wade's never been a great three-point shooter. He's taken more here in his last couple years. But D-Wade in his prime was let me hit this from the elbow from 15 or let me drive to the rim and put it on your head.
Yep.
So, DeMar DeRozan the other night, the controversy because Greg Popovich had him on the bench down the stretch because his team needed threes.
Yep.
So, I mean, yeah, the game's changing. And like I said, I think for fans, it's like, oh my gosh, we want to see three-pointer after three-pointer. Because, okay, out of an average NBA crowd, there's 15,000 there. I would consider guys like you and I sports-savvy, basketball-savvy guys. How many in the crowd are family and just people that, business meetings, like let's go catch a game and talk over business. I mean, you want to see scoring. That's what it is at the end of the day. It's a business, and I think the NBA is happy with where it's at right now. I think the NBA is booming right now, popularity-wise. I think it's great. But for the youth, for the next generation of basketball players, I don't think it's the best thing, to necessarily practice some of what we're seeing on the big screen.
About 15 to 17 years ago, I was cutting hair at a barbershop in Northern Virginia. And I remember getting into a big heated debate with a bunch of customers and other barbers on a Saturday. And I told them, I said, these influx of high school kids into the league is going to bring this league down. And we're going to have maybe 3 or 5 really, really, really great NBA players. And only 3 teams are going to switch off and on with the championships over the next 12 years. And I was almost dead on. Because if you look at the last 15 years, the only teams to win championships in the last 15 years are the Spurs, the Pistons, the Lakers, the Mavs, the Heat, the Cavs, and the Warriors. That's it. Now, the Cavs and the Heat, that kind of goes hand in hand because LeBron was on each one of those teams. You know what I'm saying? And the Pistons.
I'm very bipartisan. I'm very impartial when it comes to sports, but Miami's my team.
Okay.
Because when I was growing up, when I was
you were a Heat fan when you were growing up. You talk about with Rex. You talk about with Alonzo and PJ Brown, and
you can't forget one of the best finals performances since the turn of the century was what D-Wade did coming back down 2-0. Against the Mavs with an older Shaq and Antoine Walker.
I don't know, Chris. I don't know, Chris. Those whistles were helping, Chris.
I know they were. I know, but man, you get to the foul line, you knock down those shots. I mean, he did what he had to. I mean, look at your boy Harden, man. Where's Harden at right now with the whistles? Without the whistles.
Well, I give you a great stat that I got from Mina Kimes yesterday. I was texting her before she went on Around the Horn yesterday, and she texted me that if you take away during the season, if you take away everybody's free throws and everybody's 3-pointers, Harden still leads the league in scoring. So that kind of the whole free throw thing I get, but like Reggie Miller used to say, if the refs are going to be dumb enough to call it, then I'm going to keep doing it.
Yeah, I mean, James Harden, he's shown his IQ throughout this streak. I think, look, you take away Chris Paul, and I understand Chris Paul isn't what he used to be, but you take away Chris Paul from a player that fed off of him so much the last 2 years. I mean, I think James Harden still is up there, if not still the MVP last year, if he went without Chris Paul the entire season. But you don't think James Harden has learned a thing or two from Chris Paul? So I think it's been a big step in growth for James Harden during this stretch without CP3. I don't even know when he's going to come back, and that frustrates me about Chris Paul. It's tough to see him. It's almost like Anthony Davis too. It's getting to that point.
Yeah, absolutely. Anthony Davis has been at that point.
When isn't this guy injured? I mean, Is this guy made of glass? Like, dang.
And the Laker, and that's what I tell Laker fans down here in LA, man. I know you're 3 hours north of me, but I tell Laker fans all the time, I say, you guys better watch what you wish for, man, because Anthony Davis can't stay on the court. And if I'm playing the Lakers, if he comes here and he's got LeBron with him, I'm playing the Lakers, I'm telling my team, hey, foul him hard. Don't make it dirty, but foul him hard, man. Because a chop down on the wrist or a chop down on the hand for a foul, you might tear a ligament right there. He's out the next 6 to 8 weeks, and that's how I feel Chris Paul. Chris Paul gets hurt without getting touched. That's what's so frustrating to me about him. He pulled his hamstring running up the court. That's how he missed the playoff game last year. That's how he missed game 6 and game 7. Nobody even touched him. He's not even driving. It's like, I always feel like when athletes, and I think I said this during the broadcast when we were doing the game up there, I'm a firm believer when athletes continually hurt lower ligaments, lower knees, the hamstring, the quad, the calf. That's diet, man. That's diet and stretching and exercise. Because if that's the case, then why the hell doesn't everybody pull a hamstring every damn year or pull a calf muscle every damn year? He has a hamstring or a groin every single season. It's almost like without fail.
Right, and there's something to be said about legacy and durability. I think durability is really important when it comes down to legacy. People are making it seem as if, well, Anthony Davis is chancing his legacy whether he stays in New Orleans or teams up with another All-Star. I think his legacy, unless something changes, is going to be hampered by his lack of durability. There have been a ton of really great players in sports that just couldn't stay healthy consistently, and obviously that one affects your number. I mean, I think about baseball. I think about prior to Mariano Rivera getting 100% of the vote, the guy that got closest to it was Ken Griffey Jr. at 99.3%.
That's right.
Can you imagine? And the numbers that he put up were ridiculous. But can you imagine if Ken Griffey Jr. was more durable? Like, I mean, 600 plus home runs is what he finished with. He would have been right up there with Bonds.
Yeah.
He was never linked to any juice. And I'm a huge Barry Bonds advocate. I love Barry Bonds. I thought he was great for the game. Love Roger Clemens. I thought it's great for the game. Everybody else is juicing. Why aren't you juicing? It wasn't illegal at the time. You never got a suspension for it. That's another discussion. But I think durability is so important when you talk about legacy. So and trust me, man, I'm from LA too. So I hear all the jargon about how Anthony Davis needs to come help LeBron add some more jewelry to his hand. But it's interesting, man. It's really it's interesting to see what direction that franchise is going to go in. I don't think there's any question with the destination and the history. It has little more to do than playing with LeBron. I think they'll get somebody or two in the near future. But I mean, pick your poison, if you will. I mean, be careful with what superstar you want to bring into town, because there's egos involved. There's health involved with some of the guys that they've been linked to.
Well, I've been on the record for the last 2 years of saying they're not getting these players that they think they were going. First it was Paul George, nope. Then it was Kawhi Leonard, nope. Then it was Boogie Cousins, nope. I have on good knowledge from an NBA inside source that I have that there are a lot of players in their prime that would love to come play for the Lakers, but their hesitation is, if they come here and you don't win, your brand is going to suffer, because ESPN, all the outlets, all the LeBron lovers, they're going to blame you, and your brand will take a hit. Kyrie saw the writing on the wall. Kyrie's got his own problems in Boston. I get it. It's funny and cool to go, ha ha ha, look at you now. People did the same thing to Kobe, ha ha ha, look at you now. But when the Lakers lost to the Pistons, even though nobody wants to admit the Pistons were just a better team, they didn't have the best player, Kobe, the most dominant Shaq. No, they didn't have those guys, but they had the better team. Kobe took most of the blame for that loss, not Shaq. Kobe took that blame. Look at Kevin Love. Kevin Love was 27-15 the year before he went to Cleveland. Kevin Love is an afterthought when you talk about some of the best players in the league right now. And that's because in Cleveland, every time they lost, it was Kevin Love. And LeBron fed into that with the don't try to fit in, don't try to get in or fit in, just get in tweets and things of that nature, where it damages your brand. And I have on good accord that there are some prime players that are kind of hesitant about it, because their whole thing is, okay, so I go to LA. That still doesn't make us better. It doesn't make us better, than the Warriors. It doesn't make them better than Denver, not at this current, state of time. And you look at a team like the Spurs, and it took a minute for Pop to integrate these new kids and integrate some of the young talent and kind of change the culture there a little bit by keeping the same mantra that the Spurs do. But you watch the Spurs over the last 20 plus games, now it's starting to look like, okay, here comes Popovich's here's the coaching that we've always seen. You had Duncan, you had Ginobili, you had Parker, and people think, oh, it's easy. No, it's not easy. You still got to coach superstars. I mean, if you think about if it's so easy, then Kobe and Shaq wouldn't have been swept back-to-back years in the playoffs before Phil got to town with Tex Winners. You know what I'm saying? Yes.
If it was so easy, LeBron and his big three in Miami wouldn't have gone 2-2 in the finals.
Absolutely.
That 500 in the finals. And it's great. They got the 2 rings, but hand in hand with the 2 rings is the 2 finals losses. Kevin Love in Cleveland, and I've heard you talk about this before, and it's actually, not to gas you up on your own show, and I couldn't do anything but do that on your own show. But I've been really intrigued by your take on it. It's a great take with Kevin Love. I don't necessarily know how much Kevin Love diminished, certainly statistically, from his time in Minnesota to his time in Cleveland. But what did he become in Cleveland? He literally became like Kyle Korver, just stood in the corner.
That's it.
That's all he did. He stood in the corner, and when he touched the ball, he took a three, 35, 40%. Okay. His low post game was irrelevant.
Yep. It disappeared
in Cleveland because LeBron needed him to clear out of that area for him to drive. So, I mean, it's unfortunate. We feel bad for Kevin Love because it's like, man, Kevin Love, he still got his money. He got a well-deserved extension this past summer when LeBron left. He's barely played this year. I mean, shoot. I mean, I wouldn't want to play with with what they have over there right now anyway, for one. But
it's no different than what he had in Minnesota when he was doing 27 and 15.
Exactly. And granted, he wasn't winning a whole lot in Minnesota. I mean, some guys, Kevin Love has his ring now. So I think Kevin Love's just going to get his paper from now on. But you have to evaluate other superstars and what they're after. I think the KD to LA talk has always been crazy. And I think that's kind of died down with some of the stuff that KD said in the past few months. I think Anthony Davis is possible to LA, but that just depends on what Anthony Davis is after. And something happens to Anthony Davis, all of a sudden you're back to the Lakers from 18-19, which is a 5 seed, 6 seed at best.
At best. And not only that, you have to depend on Anthony Davis turning down. Can you? And I'll present this in a question form. Could you see him turning down the Supermax of 225? If I were the Pelicans, I'd put it on the table right now. I'd put it on the damn table right now, and I'd look him in the face and say, are you signing this or not? When you look down at 225, now 225 in Louisiana goes a whole lot further than 225 in California.
And not even to mention the Lakers can't give him that much. The Lakers would be lucky to give him half of what they're trying to do because they're trying to. It's not a big 2. It's not a big 2 driven league. It's a big 3, I guess big 4 now driven league elsewhere. So if the Lakers go out and get Davis, they're not done. They're still looking to add one more, maybe a Kemba Walker type fit or a Kyrie Irving. You never know. I mean, with that dramatic phone call that he just had to tell everybody about last week, there's been a little bit of startup about maybe Kyrie coming back to Los Angeles to team up with LeBron. But yeah, that's a lot of money to look at and turn down. We haven't seen it often where super maxes are turned down in the NBA. It's hard to let go of all that money, especially if the Lakers give Davis a cheaper 3-4 year deal, and all of a sudden Davis, becomes injured more and more often. And I mean, look, with age, when you're that height and you have that body, it's irregular. There are not human. At the end of the day, these guys are human beings. There are not human beings that are average or close to average at that size that have that type of athleticism. Anthony Davis is special. There's no question, but I mean, can you see him getting healthier from this point? I don't think so. I think the smart thing for Davis to do would be to recognize, okay, this is who I am. This is just who I am as a human being. This is who I am as a basketball player. I'm great when I'm healthy, but when I'm not, I'm irrelevant. I'm going to take this money here, and I'm going to trust that management in New Orleans can get me a couple of guys and contend out west eventually. He's young. He could cement himself as a star, you know, in New Orleans, as a legend with the Pelicans. And I mean, he could still sign this Supermax and get back out there in his early 30s should he be healthy enough to keep playing at that point. But I hate to say it, and I don't wish injury upon anybody because I'm an Anthony Davis fan. But we've seen it over the years. Guys just kind of diminish in the NBA a little bit quicker, you know, than other sports sometimes. And I hope that's not the case for Anthony Davis. But what comes to mind in a different position, different size, I just think about Brandon Roy. Think about Michael Red.
Great
Michael
one.
Red with the Bucks. You know,
we could go to Derek Anderson. We can go to Larry Johnson. We can go to Grant Hill. We can go to Anthony Hardaway. I mean, there's been some superstars that when they face that one injury, it just really derails or changes their entire career. And the final word on them, like Grant Hill got into the Hall. Okay, I'm a Pistons guy. I'm from Virginia, 703. Grant Hill's from Virginia, 703. I saw him play in high school. Even though he went to Duke, I was always a Grant Hill fan. Not why he was at Duke, but once he got drafted by my Pistons, I was like, oh God, this is godsend. I rooted for him in high school, couldn't root for him in college, and now he goes and plays for my Pistons, and he has that foot issue, and he decides to play through it in the playoffs, and he ends up having the surgery, and it totally changes the story of Grant Hill. I'm still trying to figure out how he was a first ballot Hall of Famer. I really am. And I'm a Grant Hill guy. But
come on, man. You know the NBA lets everybody in.
Oh, my God. There's like 14 guys that get in every year. It's like, I think there needs to be a cap. I'm serious. There needs to be I ain't going to lie. I don't like the percentage that baseball does it, but I do like the fact that every year, it's like last year it was one guy. One guy got in. And I think that's how it should be. You can't let it. The NFL does that now where it's 10 damn players. And what happens is you start to remember the guys you forgot from the 60s and 70s. So you start to let them in. And it's like, well, hold on, man. That guy was great back. You just missed the boat. I believe if you missed the boat, you can't go back. That would just be my little rule. But speaking of Hall of Fame,
that's what's ludicrous about the whole baseball Hall of Fame thing is that, okay, let's say Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens, arguably the best pitcher of all time, arguably in my opinion, as it stands right now, the best hitter of all time, Barry Bonds. They're probably not going to get in. Do you have these old writers that just kind of have to, want to do things how they've always been done, and that's, not let in anybody who's ever been linked to steroids.
I disagree. I think they're both getting in within 5 years.
Well, they only have 3 left on the ballot. So.
Oh, okay. You're right. They do it like that in baseball. You're right.
So you're not on there for forever. And so my fear is that they're not going to get in with these next 3, and then they're going to be elderly, old, or God forbid gone. And then I think, the baseball writers will have more appreciation for them, X amount of years down the line. And I would hate to see that. That's what bothers me about the baseball Hall of Fame. I mean, you got to get 75% of the vote. I mean, that's a grip. NBA, it's like, you passed the eye test. You had a couple good years.
Exactly. Exactly, man. Exactly. I want to shift gears here to another thing where I part of my opening rant was times are changing. The diva number 1 receiver in the NFL. And I think times are really shifted and changed where a lot of front offices, head coaches, offensive coordinators, owners, GMs are starting to really fade to the side. Well, I don't need Moss. I don't need Odell. I don't need Julio. And the reason why I bring this up because AB is the big name that's going to be out there this year. I believe the Giants are going to trade Odell Beckham. And I have to say that because I called it almost 2 years ago. I said when his contract is coming up, they'll load him up on a big deal. But then they will see if they can move him if their team does not improve and they can unload that contract. But they don't want to lose him to free agency for nothing. So I think that's a strategic thing that front offices and teams do. It's a little bit of shrewd business. I get it, but pro sports is shrewd. Pro sports is not Girl Scout cookie selling. It's not little kids mowing the lawn for money in the neighborhood or city parades for Christmas. That's not what pro sports is. Pro sports is nasty. Pro sports is dirty. Pro sports is corrupted. It's a man's world, and a lot of women have made their way up in it, and I'm proud of that because I was raised by a single mother. I have daughters, so I do love that. But at the end of the day, man, it's a good old boys club, and it's corrupted and it's dirty. So I do believe that Odell would be moved, and I think more teams are just looking at it and saying, we don't need the number one receiver anymore to win championships. The Eagles last year, the Patriots, listen, I'm gonna just call it what it is. And I gotta play the color card here. The Patriots have 3 white guys that catch the ball. Let's just be honest. They do. They have 3 white guys. 2 of them nobody wanted. Nobody wanted Edelman. He's an undrafted free agent who played quarterback at a mid-major. Nobody wanted Hogan. Hogan was on the Dolphins when they did Hard Knocks, and I remember because I'm a Dolphin fan, and I got HBO for 1 year just to watch my Dolphins on Hard Knocks, and he was on the practice squad. He didn't even make the 53-man opening Sunday roster. And these are the receivers that he has to throw the ball to, being Tom Brady, in another Super Bowl. I just don't think you need the number one diva, all about me, all the attention on me type receiver anymore in the NFL. Your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're right. I think it's a distraction, and I think we've seen that sort of manifest over the past couple years. It seems like the last 10 years, whether it be Amendola or Wes Welker. I mean, the little white dudes running around, for the Patriots and Bill Belichick. I just think that speaks volume to the type of system that Belichick has implemented. Just you kind of have to tip your cap to. I mean, if you put some Jets on me, man. Throw some shoulder pads on me, man. I might have a couple catches next Sunday.
And honestly, you're laughing, but I believe you. I believe that if you worked out for a year, I'm dead serious. I've seen you. I've stood in the booth with you right next to you. You fit the body size. You look the part, bro. If you worked out for a year, I honestly, like 365, you quit everything else and you train and train and train. I honestly believe you could get a tryout, at least a look, from a Patriot scout, and it would be the only team who would even think to look at you. And like I said, I'm not trying to be funny, but the better receivers in NFL history are black. I mean, let's go through the white guys. You have Steve Largent, you have Lance Allworth, you have McCaffrey, you had Ed McCaffrey. I mean, Dwayne Corbett. Remember the year with the Jets where Keyshawn wanted to be the guy, and it's like, dude, I hear you running your mouth, and yeah, you are really, really good. But Wayne Corbett he's doing what you're doing, and he's quiet, and he doesn't drop balls, and he doesn't need the passes, and he doesn't have to run his mouth, and he's still putting up the same production. He ran better routes than Keyshawn did. He had better hands than Keyshawn Johnson.
Right, and I think it's all about the system. I think. I agree with you. I don't think you necessarily need a big name receiver, a top 5 in the game receiver to win championships and win games. I mean, even look at the other side of the spectrum. No, it's not little 5'9" white dudes running around, but Robert Woods. What was Robert Woods in Buffalo? He wasn't great. He comes to LA. He's a top 3 receiver on the Rams and looks like a Pro Bowler.
Yeah.
Brandon Cooks is a good receiver. He's not a great receiver. He's been a superstar in Sean McVay's system. Same for Josh Reynolds, a kid out of Texas A&M. I mean,
Cooper Kupp, freaking Cooper Kupp.
And we see it with the head coaching hires. It's all about the system. The Cardinals are trying to get lucky. The Cardinals are hoping that Cliff Kingsbury's offensive system translates to what the Rams have done, or similar to what the Rams have done in the NFL. The jury's out on that. It may or may not happen. I think he might click with a guy like Josh Rosen. He's got the number 1 pick in the draft.
Well, let's go there really quick. Let's go, because that's really interesting. We could go all over the map, brother. So don't. My show is the furthest from staying on topic, so don't worry about that here, man. That's why we call it unsportsmanlike conduct, because we don't follow trends over here, man. Let's go there. I like that. He's got that job there. I, for one, didn't dislike it as much as other people did, Because a lot of people want to go to Texas Tech and all this college, but I'm like, bro, let's go deeper. Stop scuba. I tell people, stop snorkeling when you talk about sports. Put your mask on, put your air tank on. Let's go scuba diving. Let's dig a little deeper. If you talk about Texas, okay, Texas Tech, here's the fourth school when it comes to recruiting. Kids want to go to Austin. Kids want to go to College Station, especially with Jimbo Fisher there now. And then Texas kids want to run up to Oklahoma. So you're really, and then you have Baylor. So you can either be ranked 5th or 4th, and let's not forget TCU. So you can easily be the 6th choice of a Texas kid who wants to go play big-time college football. So he's not getting the biggest and best talent there. I always say talent needs coaching, coaching needs talent.
Right, and if you've ever been to Lubbock, and I haven't, and I don't have a desire to, it's not a geographically, within Texas. I mean, forget maybe campuses or big names and alumni where it might line up elsewhere. That's why I have such respect for Mike Leach, because Mike Leach, and I'm an aspiring, college Division I sports broadcaster. So I'd be so blessed to call a game at Texas A&M or Washington State. But where Texas Tech or Texas A&M, but Texas Tech, where it is in Texas, Lubbock is in the middle of nowhere.
Yep. It's
not a desirable location. The campus isn't great. Washington State up in Pullman, I was actually just there a few months ago.
You sure were. Coleman basketball.
Is 5 minutes from the Idaho border and a good 5-hour drive from Seattle. So when you think Washington, you think Space Needle, Nirvana, Seahawks. That's not what Washington State is. So that's why I have so much respect for Mike Leach, because he's gone and he's won in these places, and he's recruited some decent guys to places that haven't had a whole lot of success without him. So, I think the argument is weak when it comes to saying, oh, Cliff Kingsbury, he showed us what he can do as a head coach. He finished under 500 multiple seasons at Texas Tech. I think that's irrelevant. I think you put Sean McVay at Texas Tech, or you put Sean McVay at Washington State. Is Sean McVay posting championship seasons after championship seasons? I'm not saying Sean McVay is God's gift to football. I think he's a very talented head coach. I think he's done things over the past couple of years that we haven't seen in the NFL. I think he's changing the culture of the game clearly with some of the hires that we've seen in the NFL this offseason. I think people want to find themselves a McVay 2.0, if that's even possible. And I'm an LA guy, but I'm not even a Rams guy. And I just have so much respect for what he's come in and done with after seeing Jared Goff his first year. I was done with Jared Goff.
A lot of people were.
And then he implements the system, and all of a sudden, people are having that top 5, top 10 discussion about Jared Goff. So, I think the jury's definitely out. Kingsbury's kind of like a wait and see. It's a wait and see to see what he does with that number 1 pick. If he goes with Kyler, all of a sudden I'm really intrigued. But I think personality wise, with a guy like Josh Rosen, who I covered in high school, who I know is a high IQ guy, I don't know how his talent's going to translate into a potential long-term NFL career. And I'm just interested to see, what Kingsbury might do with him and the rest of the guys in Arizona.
If you have that pick, what do you do with it?
Ooh, I don't. I'm a big fan of dual threat quarterbacks. I love the direct. You asked my favorite quarterbacks in the league: Marcus Mariota, Deshaun Watson, Lamar Jackson. Those are my favorite quarterbacks. I love watching it. I love it, man. And not to say that I don't appreciate Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady, guys that just kind of have cinder blocks around their ankles and just can't get out of the pocket. It's just so much more exciting for me to see that a quarterback has the ability when things break down to go dart off and grab 15 yards. I've always been. That's why and you're the same way. I know you're the same way. You love the pageantry of college football. There's nothing like college football. And college football is in an absolute direction where you almost have to be a dual threat quarterback to get recognized by a Power 5 school these days. So, if I'm Cliff Kingsbury, I think it just comes down to, getting to know Josh Rosen, looking at tape and seeing, okay, I can see this as my franchise quarterback, because this may, I tell you, BJ, this number 1 pick that Cliff has might make or break his coaching career.
Oh, it's going to.
Because
it's going to. No, might. It's going to.
Because if he fails in the NFL, obviously the NFL is never going to come calling again, but it's going to be hard pressed for him to get. He'll get a college level gig, but he's probably not going to get any Pac-12 love. He's probably not going to get any major college football. He's going to have to start essentially where he started at a school like Houston, an American, non-Power 5 school, and try and work his way slowly back up the college ranks. So I think it all comes down to just I think he's a very high IQ offensive, mastermind. Cliff Kingsbury is, but it just comes down to on film. I'm sure he's talking to Josh Rosen daily, talking to other guys on his offense daily. What'd you think about this? Well, why didn't you do this in this situation? Blah, blah, blah. I'm sure the playbook's going to be completely different than what it was last year. But I think it's a big gamble. It's a big gamble. If you go Kyler and Rosen goes elsewhere and gets in the system and winds up being a halfway decent, a little more than decent NFL quarterback, and all the critics are right about Kyler Murray's size being to his disadvantage in the NFL, and then he says, "Forget this, I'm going to go get my bread playing baseball." Then Cliff Kingsbury looks like a jackass. So, and unfortunately for Kingsbury, this is a really, really weak quarterback class coming out of college.
Really, you think so? I mean, I keep up on NFL. I keep up on college football and things like that year round. I mean, you have Haskins, you have the kid out of Missouri that everybody seems to fall in love with. Mock, and I see the Duke kid's name is starting to really come up. And one thing, if you get yourself a Duke kid at the quarterback position, the one thing you have is a smart guy. He's not gonna forget the playbook. He's gonna be able to pick up your playbook. He's gonna be able to pick up the terminology. Some of these kids from certain colleges, if like an offensive lineman, I tell people, you want an offensive lineman, you want a smart guy, get you a guy from Northwestern, get you a guy from Vanderbilt, get you a guy from Ohio State, get you a guy from Stanford. These kids, these schools, they demand smarts out of their students and their student athletes. You can't just coast through there. Maybe in basketball, but I know in football, you still have to pick up terminology and you have to be smart to be able to do these things. People talk about Andrew Luck's smarts. Yeah, he went to Stanford. He graduated early, and in a major that I probably wouldn't even. They'd have laughed at my application if I'd applied to the school at Stanford.
No, you and I go in there and grab the syllabus on the first day, and we never come back. No, because I can't even pronounce half the damn classes. First of all, I'm like, okay, so what the hell is chlorophenogix engineering? Okay, I don't even know what the hell chlorophenagic is. First of all, I'm Baptist, so don't call me no chlorophenagic. That's number one, okay? And if you're listening to rumors from Raheem, that was one night I was drinking and we was in Mexico, so I'm not a chlorophenagic. That's number one. So and back to the pick, because I think this I'm with you. This number one pick is one of the most intriguing number one picks I've seen in years, because if you do go Kyler, you can't possibly keep both of those guys. Because if you're going Kyler, that means Kyler's your guy. You can't really have him and Rosen. Then you can start to look who wants to trade or who wants to move up or I think they're going to flirt that number one pick out there and see if maybe they can grab maybe the 4th or 5th. I know the Raiders are sitting at number 4. Do the Raiders jump up? Because obviously Carr's not maybe the answer there. So do the Raiders jump up at some point and say, you know what? Let's go up. Let's go up and let's see if we can, get this number one pick. Maybe Gruden likes Murray. Maybe Gruden likes Mock. But I think Mock will fall for them. As I pull up the draft here, just the order, you have the Cardinals at 1. They have a quarterback, but they could use one. You have San Francisco at 2. They have their quarterback. Jets at 3. They have their quarterback. Then you have 4, 5, 6, 7. All teams who might need a quarterback. Raiders, Bucks, Giants, Jags. I think all 4 of those teams, and you're even talking Detroit at 8. I know you have Stafford, but when do you start looking to the future? Buffalo has their guy at 9. You got Denver at 10. The Bengals put out a report. They're fine with Andy Dalton at 11. Discount double check is 12 with the Packers. And then you got my boys, the Dolphins, sitting there at 13, who've already announced that they're moving on from Tannehill
And instead of paying him $21 or $22 million, whatever the hell it is, which is way too much money. And I'm not a Tannehill hater, but I'm not a Tannehill guy. And I'm slightly a Tannehill apologist because I watch every Dolphin game. I watch every Dolphin snap every season. And I've seen how bad the line's been for 5 years. So for the blame he gets, I always ask people, hey, did Tannehill play well? I just go, well, just look at the back of his jersey. And that'll tell me whether he played well or not. If the green from the grass is matching the teal of Tannehill in the number 17, that means he was on his ass half the day. I mean, the line played like shit and the Dolphins probably lost. And then the blame is going to be on Tannehill. But if you look at that, just the top 13 picks, there's 6 teams that if I were the Cardinals, I would just flirt the number 1 out there for, because the Raiders are sitting at 4. They're looking for a quarterback. If they even drop down to 4, San Francisco's not taking Kyler. The Jets aren't taking Kyler. So that's why I think this pick is so intriguing, because you're right. It's going to make or break his coaching career there, but he doesn't necessarily have to make that pick. He could move that pick, accrue some more picks. They got a running back. Okay. We know that. They got a running back in David Johnson. Larry Fitz has announced he's coming back for 1 more year, but Larry Fitz is not the future. You got to start to find your next young receiver that can train and learn. You put his chair right next to Larry Fitzgerald in the locker room, and you tell him, this is your guy. You need to be his shadow your entire rookie season. For as long as he's here, we don't want to see you without anybody else unless you got Larry Fitz standing right next to you also. So you have pieces there. It's a young defense. If you look at their team this year, they lost a lot of games, but they're also in a lot of games because their defense is still young and budding, and they got some pieces working there too. So
right, and I think that's if I'm Cliff Kingsbury, and I do like the potential of Josh Rosen, and I do like what I've seen on film and just talking to the guy, and I do feel confident in taking a gamble and making him my quarterback for 2-3 years and trusting that maybe he can be a Jared Goff type story where he doesn't look like he's going to amount to a whole lot as a freshman, and then a rookie, and then all of a sudden as a second, third year player become what Goff has under McVay or something similar to that. Then I think the better option would be, okay, if these other teams are thirsty for a quarterback and worried that I might take one, why don't I trade this number 1 overall pick, move back to about 7 or 8, and grab a much-needed O-lineman or a much-needed pass rusher or much-needed linebacker. There are so many options for Kingsbury. But as we said, it could very well be a decision that makes or breaks his future going forward before he even coaches a game.
Nick Bosa's out there as the number 1 pick. I'm looking at Daniel Jeremiah's mock draft, and I haven't seen anybody. I like the idea of just creating conversation and creating debate with them possibly trading. But do you pass up a Rashawn Gary out of Michigan, Nick Bosa, even Josh Allen, the edge rusher from Kentucky, Williams, the defensive tackle out of Alabama? There's some defensive tackle kids. Oh, the kid from Mississippi State, Jeffrey Simmons. There's some defensive players there. Devin White, the linebacker who people are saying is the next Ray Lewis out of LSU, and we know LSU's defensive players normally do thrive in the NFL. They don't miss in the NFL, especially with their defensive backs. I call that DBU because their defensive backs come to the NFL and perform when you come out of LSU, especially the guys under Les Miles. If you keep that pick, I'm with you. I don't know if there's a lineman worth going up that high for number 1, but God, man, I'm not an Ohio State guy, but do you pass on the Nick Bosa? Because if you trade that pick, whoever goes up to number 1 is probably going to take a quarterback. But then you're sitting there with San Francisco and the Jets, and you can't tell me neither one of those teams couldn't use a pass rusher.
Right, absolutely. And I think we've seen over the years how impactful rookie pass rushers can be. I mean, you look at Nick's brother Joey and what he did in his first year coming back healthy with the Chargers. I mean, Von Miller since day 1 with Denver after he was the number 2 overall pick. Yeah. I mean, he's been one of the best defensive pass rushers in the NFL. It still is. So I think that, you look at mock drafts and these guys know a little more. I would maybe not know a little more than we do. I'd say maybe they're a little luckier than we are sometimes.
Yeah.
When it comes to predicting who's going to go where, and almost every mock draft that I've seen has the Cardinals taking Nick Bosa, and Bosa could be that defensive player if he really is that good. That could be a franchise changer. So it's all in the evaluation right now, and we're still 3 months or so away from draft day, 90 days or so. So that's a lot of time. We're going to have a lot of discussion, prior to the Cardinals' name being called and asked what their number one pick is. So I think a lot of it is just simply speculation at this point. It's so funny with how the draft work. It's almost like looking at like a Vegas line of a game, and then someone gets hurt, and then all of a sudden, instead of 4.5 point favorites, they're 2 point they're 2 point underdogs. And so I think we see that all the time in sports. It's like, right now Bosa's the consensus number one pick, and then 2 days before the draft, it's going to be somebody else. Like last year, nobody thought Baker Mayfield was going number one until like 3 days before the draft.
Yeah, really almost up to the pick, man. Because I saw people saying they just could not see a team thinking Baker Mayfield could be the number one overall draft pick. And the Browns have said it when they drafted, said, listen, he's been our guy. We can't just show our cards, but when we had him in, we loved him. We loved the way he talked. We loved his attitude, his personality. When we put the film on and we put him up on the dry board, they said he hit 100%. He didn't miss nothing. When they threw situations at him, and it's showing. I did Cleveland. I tell you this, man. I know a lot of garbage is coming out, and I hate that. I hate when once a guy leaves, then all the garbage comes out. Because my thing is, be men. Get the shit out in the open, either while he's there or you have a closed meeting with everybody. Everybody air their grievances. And from this moment on, it's dead. I don't care if you play here or if you play with Miami or you play with the Bears next year, 2-3 years. Let's just make sure this is the end of it. I kind of hate when garbage starts to fly out when guys leave and guys start running their mouth. But I tell you something about Cleveland, man. And having Nick Chubb there, we seeing what Sonny Michel. I mean, goodness gracious, look at that running back tandem. Look what they were doing in Georgia, and look what they're both now doing in the NFL. It's like, and they got two guys there right now again, and both of those guys are going to come out and do the same thing. And it started with Todd Gurley. But when you look at Cleveland and you talk about Chubb and you talk about Baker Mayfield, I like the fact that they kept in-house with the coach. That defense is young. That defense is really, really good. The Browns, they're not going to be laughing stocks not much longer.
No, I don't even think they were much of a laughing stock this last year. I think the other team in the state, Cincinnati, I think they were a little bit more of a laughing stock this year. Yeah, and that was proven in both of the matchups. No, I think Cleveland did a nice job and finally went in the right direction. I've never thought Hugh Jackson was a bad coach. It just obviously wasn't a good fit there. I think he's probably better off as a coordinator in this league for whatever reason.
Absolutely, he's a coordinator.
So interesting hire. Promoting Kitchens, the OC, to the head coach. We'll see if that pays off. But I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. They started the season 0-5-1 or 1-5-1, and then finished close to 500 in the second portion of the year. So we'll see if they can roll that magic into this fall. But no, I agree with you. I think a lot. I mean, what if Cleveland would not have gone Baker Mayfield with the number one pick, and then let's say maybe took a quarterback in round 3 or 4 this year, and all of a sudden you have Tyrod Taylor under center for a team that maybe wins 2 games.
Oh yeah. And he's a Virginia kid, and I like Tyrod, but I thought he got really lucky in Buffalo on certain Sundays. I really did. I think I watched him. Like I said, once again, saw him in high school out of Virginia. Saw him at Virginia Tech. He just reminded me of a poor man's Michael Vick that didn't have Michael's arm strength. He didn't have Vick's athletic ability at all. I mean, hell, Marcus Vick might have been better than Tyrod Taylor, but I thought he got sometimes a team just needs a quarterback, and whoever's there is just going to get the start. You got to put somebody under center when your offense takes the field. So it's got to be somebody. And I thought he was that type of guy. So I'm with you. If Tyrod Taylor's the starter all year long, maybe they win 2 or 3 games. And their draft is 17 this year. When's the last time you've seen the Cleveland Browns draft outside of the top 15. Hell, the top 5 picks of the NFL draft. They're all the way down to 17. So that shows you where they are. I want to switch modes now that we're on NFL because I'm very concerned about one of my favorite NFL players. And I haven't openly said it yet, so this is the first time I'm openly saying this. But I'm concerned about Cam Newton. And I'll tell you why. And I said this during the year. And I remember watching the game with my wife, and we're both Cam Newton fans. We went and saw when the Rams played the Panthers here. Like, I'm like, hell yeah, I want to go to that game. Her friend hooked her up with some free tickets. I'm like, hell yeah, I want to go. I'm going. I didn't think about nobody on the Rams. I'm like, I'm going to watch Cam. And I went and I watched I think it was 13-7 or 13-6. It was a defensive struggle game, but I, got to see him live. He's one of my favorite NFL players. But we're watching the game this year, and I look to her and I go, if I were Carolina, I would trade Cam Newton. And I tell you why. I think, number one, sometimes, especially in the NFL, sometimes guys just need a change of scenery. Guys just need a new voice. I don't have anything against Ron Rivera, but like you say about Hugh Jackson, I think he's more suited as a coordinator. I'm not sure he's a head coach. And I don't know what the hell the GM is doing there because they have yet to actually really go after a bona fide passing core for Cam. I'm not saying a number one guy, but I mean, Kelvin Benjamin, I'm a Michigan guy, but Devin Funchess disappointed me when he was at Michigan. Because when he came in at a Detroit Mercy, I thought he was all world. I thought he was going to be just the man there and be Braylon Edwards again, Michigan-wise, because Braylon didn't really pan out in the league. But Michigan-wise, I thought they had Braylon all over again. And when I watch him play now, he looks like the same receiver I used to watch his sophomore year at Michigan. And he's in his third year in the league. You should be improved by now. But I think sometimes you need a change of scenery. And I think Cam needs a change of scenery, man. I know they got McCaffrey there, but he had 1,000 and 1,000 this year. That wasn't even enough to get them over a 500 record. Cam played with the tour labrum. They went to the Super Bowl, won MVP, 15 in 1 year, ran against the Broncos, came up against the Broncos in that Super Bowl. But I think that sometimes in sports, especially in the NFL, you can't just play things out long. You have to kind of identify it and deal with it right then and there. Am I off on my opinion on that, or do I have some legs to that? I think Cam Newton needs a change of scenery. And if I were Carolina, you could get something for Cam right now, and I think it would help both. I think it would help both parties.
I'm vigorously searching through my Twitter where I said I think after that Monday Night Football catastrophe against the Saints, that Cam Newton needs a change of scenery. So
okay, so you get where I'm coming from.
I'm with you 1,000% on that. I think he's still a great talent. Like you said, I mean, he has McCaffrey, but on the offensive end, really nobody else. And
Olsen can't stay healthy. Olsen's done. Olsen will never be the Olsen he was. He can't stay healthy.
No, and unless Carolina is planning on having a mega Rams type offseason like they did last offseason, I just can't see it being in their best interest or Cam's best interest to want to stay there. Now Cam, clearly is happy with, I think, location-wise, too, where he is. I mean, he has so many different charities that lined up just outside of that area. He's done so much off the field for that community that I just don't think that he would.
From outside Atlanta, which isn't a big drive that he can go home all the time when he wants to, back to the old neighborhood.
Right, and so I just think that he's done so much that he just doesn't strike me as somebody. And he's been opinionated before, and he hasn't been afraid to say stuff. I mean, you remember his post Super Bowl press conference, but he doesn't strike me as someone to request a trade. And he's a fan favorite there, and the Panthers know how much of a talent he is. But I just can't help feel like they're wasting it right now. And I still feel like he's in the prime. I don't think he's on the decline just yet. I still feel like he has a few more years left as a really top notch quarterback. It's just kind of tough to see how much of a struggle it's been, especially on the offensive end. I can't tell you how many Carolina games I've looked at box scores and been like, damn, how'd they only score 10 points?
Yeah.
How'd they only score 7 points?
Yeah.
How'd they only have 2 touchdowns?
Sunday after Sunday, bro.
Yeah, so I think absolutely, and you bring up a great point. I think Carolina at this point can still get a lot for Cam Newton. Now you start to look at where the fits might be for Cam Newton. And you look at a team like Denver, but what does Denver have to offer? You look at a team like maybe the Raiders. What do the Raiders have to offer? You could send another car back to Carolina and then maybe grab that that top 5 pick too, and see what you want to do with that. But I don't know if Oakland would be willing to give up all that with how they're. But hey, at the same time, I mean, you think Cam Newton wouldn't be a great way to break in Vegas? I would be all for that if I was.
I can see Cam with a black and silver #1 jersey on, man. And that would make everybody forget about Jamarcus Russell, because that's who people probably thought. We didn't know who Cam was at that point. But if you want to just draw a comparison, it's almost like, man, there's your makeup right there. We get Cam in a Raider jersey, like you said, to break in Vegas after because they got one more year, or wherever they're going to play this year. And that's a year after under Gruden, around some of the other talent that Gruden's going to bring there with their picks. I mean, the Raiders have 3 first-round picks this year. So even if they were decided to say, okay, let's make that trade, we'll trade with Carolina, maybe swap. Carolina takes the 4th pick, they get Cam, and then they can still replace Cam with a quarterback with that 4th pick, if they choose to, to go that route. I like that right there. I love to play virtual. I call it virtual GM, where you just throw out scenarios. And listen, most of them aren't going to happen, but it kind of makes me feel like, yeah, I need to be an NFL GM, because the stuff that I say you guys should be doing and you don't do it, and your program and your franchise is still bad forever. And when you could have made a move, that's another credit I give to Bill Belichick, is he is mastered knowing when to get rid of a guy before it's too late. We've seen it time and time again. Lawyer Malloy. We saw it with Randy Moss. We saw it with Russell with Seymour on the defensive line. The kid out of Georgia, the guy out of Georgia. I mean, we've seen this even with goodness gracious, I can't believe I'm forgetting his name. Vince Wilfork. They saw it. They were like, Vince's, and he went to Houston and kind of had about half a season. When a guy goes to a new team and they think he's too old, they play with that chip on their shoulder, so they're still kind of good. I.e. LaDainian, when he went to the Jets and he almost had 1,000 yards, and people were like, oh, look at LaDainian. But then the next year he had like 400-something yards, and you can see that the Chargers were right. The Chargers were right on, listen, man, you're kind of, we're going to move on. We had our shots. We didn't get it done. We're going to move on a year too early before it's a year too late. So I give Bill Belichick a lot of credit with that. But in saying that, I like what Gruden's done with the Raiders, man. And that is a really nice move you threw out there. Wow, trade, swap picks. You get the 4th. We'll take your pick. We get Cam. And here's one of our second rounders, from this year. I think they have 2 of those either this year or next year. You take a second round. You start the rebuild. We give Cam a new scenery, and then I still say you keep Carr, and you let Carr sit, and you go, okay, here, watch an MVP, watch, kind of watch and learn. I think when you throw a quarterback into the fire, it does one or two things. They'll either have a good year and fall off, or they'll have a good year and then they'll take a step back, but they'll learn from that step back and then they'll come up, i.e. Dak Prescott. Last year, he had a fall off after a great rookie year, but this year, I thought he really stepped back up because he learned from his fall off year.
Yeah, and it's just, I think a lot of it has to do with coaching. I think coaching in professional sports is underrated because, it always seems like sometimes coaching gets the heat when things aren't going well, and then when things are going well, you give the credit to the players. So I think with Dak Prescott obviously missing Zeke for those 6 games last year definitely hurt his progression and definitely changed up his style. But I don't know about Derek Carr. I think it seemed as if just yesterday we were talking about, who's going to stop the Raiders from getting to the Super Bowl? Yeah. And now it's like, okay, like Derek Carr's kind of showed us the last couple of years when he got hurt and this past season that he might not be all that. So I agree. Maybe it's a little too early to give up on the Derek Carr experiment, but I think by 2 years from now, when the Raiders have officially made that move to Vegas 2020, I think they have to. If Carr doesn't make a big leap this next season, I think they have to have another notable name under center to help reel in that city's interest and get that franchise started on the right foot.
No, I'm with you on that. I don't think you can roll out a rookie unless it's going to be unless it's kid from Clemson or Tua, kid from Bama. I don't know another rookie that would be that year that I think you can go to that stadium with that franchise, with that head coach, and kind of run out a rookie quarterback. I agree with you. I think when you move, you need to have a solidified guy. The Rams did it. They came out here with Goff, but Goff didn't play right away until they saw that, they were started 0-7 or 0-8 or what have you, and then moved on from there. I'll close up on this, man. We're going to wrap this up. I haven't talked to you since the national championship game, and I'm going to bundle that with another question and just let you just have the floor and go on it. Recruiting in college football I want to bang on it real quick because I think I've figured out how a lot of this recruiting is going on in college, and I don't like it. Even with Michigan, even with my own guy in Harbaugh with Michigan, but some of the bigger schools that finish near the top. Have you ever seen so many top former recruits transferring in the history of college football? And I'm going to tell you why it's happening, in my opinion, but I think I got some legs on this. I think colleges now are using a recruiting tool and tactic to just keep guys away from other schools and other coaches, which I think is mad effed up, because if you say you really care about the kid, which we know they don't, but they say they do, so that's what I'm going to go with. When you say you really care about the kid, let the kid have the opportunity to live his dream and go actually play. Najee Harris is transferring from Alabama, who was the number one, not only ranked running back, and you follow this stuff the way I do. He was the overall number ranked player coming out of high school 2 years ago. And everybody went after him. And there was a bidding war between Bama, Ohio State, Michigan, and I want to say LSU. And I'm pretty sure Bama paid the right price or whatever, because I believe most of the big colleges do. I don't care what anybody says. It doesn't have to be direct cash. It can be getting your mom a job, or getting dad the tractor he needs to farm his land to get the crops back up to make more money, or whether it is a $200,000 gym bag like in Blue Chips that just kind of gets dropped off to you. And, you don't know the guy didn't know you. He's just like the guy told Shaq in that movie. Shaq said, I didn't ask for a car. He said, I just deliver him, kid. Like, this is my job. My job is to drive the car, drop it off to you, and hand you the keys, and I hop in the cab, and I pull off. I don't know you, you don't know me. So I think, Alabama paid the biggest price. But not only that, Derek Walker was another one. Running back that was with Michigan, number one ranked kid coming out of high school. He now is transferred out of Michigan. Now, the story of the Ann Arbor is he couldn't get the grades part together, but, there's a lot of players can't get the grades part in college football. They still get a chance to play. But you're starting to see these top kids. We see the quarterback from Georgia. He transferred. That makes Tate Martell transfer out of Ohio State to go down to Miami. You're starting to see this. And I think I figured this out, man. I'm watching this and I'm like, you know what? These coaches, I don't even believe have a lot of intent. They probably say, hey, man, listen, if he shows off and he shows his ass in practices and scrimmages, then we'll play him. But I believe college coaches already have their future season kind of planned out, who they're going to play and who they're going to give the ball to, who's taking the snaps, even with like Michigan. The story of, is Shea going to be the starter all summer long, all spring? I kept telling people, dude, Harbaugh did not go after him and help him get the exemption from the NCAA to play to start somebody else. That's not how this works. Kids transfer, especially at the quarterback position. And now you see Jalen Hurts transferring to Oklahoma. He's going to start at Oklahoma. Tate Martell is going to start at Miami. There's no mistaking about this. But I think these coaches are actually doing really cruddy they don't even plan on playing these kids a lot, man. They're doing it to keep them away from other coaches. And I think that does recruiting a disservice. That's part one. And part two is, what did you think about the national championship game and how the playoff played out, and did the right teams get in and all of that? You got the floor, man. Run with it.
Well, the transfer thing, I think it hit the closest to home, and it got the most wild yesterday when the number one athlete in this class, who had just signed with USC a month ago, entered the transfer portal and is now rumored to be going to Texas, Brew McCoy from Modern Day. Now, that's probably not so much of a situation where SC was trying to keep him away from Texas, obviously. More of a situation of, I think I committed here for Cliff Kingsbury, which is often a fault of a young student athlete. And you can't help but at 18, 19 years old become infatuated with certain coaches and, they latch on to you. They kind of act as a father figure, and then all of a sudden the coach leaves and you don't want to be a part of that program. That's always been, and it always will be, one of the biggest issues with college recruiting is kids committing to a coach and kids not committing to a school.
Yeah.
And you understand it to a degree, but I think it's really weak when you sign a letter of intent and then a coach leaves and then you want to bounce. Not a big fan of that. And sometimes the NCAA isn't so nice. I've seen kids sign a letter of intent, then go elsewhere and lose their freshman year, not even be able to shirt that freshman year, but lose their entire freshman season, only have 3 years left to play. With the recruiting, I think you hit the nail on the head, man. I think George is the classic example. Kirby Smart must have had his head elsewhere, not above his shoulders, because he was planning on having Fromm, Fields, and don't forget Eason.
Yeah, Eason, exactly.
This year. Eason bounced last year. He's at Washington now. Fields obviously bouncing, and he's probably going to be able to get play right away because of the whole racist incident earlier in the season.
Yep.
And
so he'll be starting for Ohio State.
Yeah, and sticking, and then Fromm will stick in Georgia at least one more year. And I'm watching that. I'm sitting there watching that Georgia Texas game, and Fromm's having a bad day. I think Fromm's a great quarterback. Helped them get to the national championship the year before. He's just having a bad day. I just see they just keep panning on the camera on Fields, just his hands on his shoulder pads on the sideline.
Yep.
If I'm Kirby Smart, if I cared about Josh Fields, and I understand there's rumors swirling around about potentially losing him, when that game's like 17-7 midway through the third, and my offense can't do anything with Fromm, I put Fields in and I let him decide if he wants to be at Georgia moving forward. That was an error on Kirby's part, perhaps too loyal to Fromm for maybe what he's done to that point, or simply, like you said, never envisioned Fields being in that system and just tried to keep him away from other SEC schools. And to be honest, it's really messed up because you often cannot transfer within the conference and not suffer some sort of penalty, whether it be losing a year or having to sit 2 years. There are only a few conferences in the NCAA, and it's mostly small basketball conferences that don't have football, that don't have penalties, extra penalties for transferring within the conference. So poor Fields, man, if he wanted to go to Auburn, or if he wanted to go to Tennessee, or if he wanted to go to Missouri, he can't do that because the SEC has rules where you can't transfer unless you're a grad transfer. You can't transfer within the conference and not suffer some sort of consequence. Now, Fields is in a great spot, obviously going to Ohio State, but I think it is a big flaw in the recruiting game, and obviously there's no way to stop it because at the end of the day, it is the student athlete's decision. But sometimes you need to see the writing on the wall. Sometimes you kind of just have to assess the situation and kind of look at the bigger picture. And maybe they're saying, hey, yeah, I'll let you come in here as a true freshman and compete for playing time. But you kind of have to maybe look at the class as a 2019 athlete and say, oh, shoot, in 2020 they have 3 offers out to other 5-star quarterbacks.
Yep.
If I commit here and then they bring in 2 other kids, all of a sudden, after my redshirt season, I might not play it down. I mean, you saw it happen with Tate Martell. Tate Martell came out of Bishop Gorman High School with all this hype. Next Johnny Manziel,
yep.
Next Baker Mayfield,
yep.
and he barely got time at Ohio State. So I think that speaks volume to Urban Meyer and the type of dude he is. But at the end of the day, there's really no way around it. And you talk about Harris from Alabama. People forget he's a West Coast kid. He's from Antioch up in Northern California near the Bay Area. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him get out of that region and maybe come out here, because I think he would tear the Pac-12 up if he decides to do that. But I think maybe if he's looking at his NFL future, he'll go maybe somewhere like Michigan or somewhere else out in that region. But I just think it's unavoidable at this point. I think it's unavoidable at this point. You know, no matter how their recruiting, whether it be with money, cars, like you said, jobs for the family, housing for the family. I mean, come on, man. The Tagovailoas moved from Hawaii to Alabama and put their kid in their youngest son in a high school.
Of course. In Tuscaloosa, I've been there, dude. There ain't shit there. Okay?
Yeah.
You can't tell me all these kids, mostly black kids that come from either like suburban city or inner cities. You cannot tell me that Nick Saban's not even a likable guy, man. Like, he's not. He's an asshole. He is a 100% complete jerk. I don't like him. I never root for him or cheer for him because I hate his style of coaching. I understand you win, but let's get real. If you get the best players in high school to come to your school, you should be winning. Now, I'm not saying he doesn't coach kids up. I think they're fun. I think the way Alabama and their staff coaches their kids as far as blocking, tackling, the aggressiveness, their practices are high-strung practices. They're full pass practices. That's why their defense is always so damn vicious. Their weightlifter program, I watched the documentary about their eating and their private chef. They can have steak and lobster any day of the week they want. They just tell them. They don't make the food for the kids. The kids tell them what they want. That's on the list of the iron-filled and protein-filled foods, and that's what they can have. So if they want lobster and steak every day, they can get that. It takes money. And let's get real. The SEC invented the saying, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. I understand a lot of schools do it, but somebody down in Alabama, matter of fact, quick sidebar. About 2 years ago, I had a friend of mine from Fox Sports West who told me, Fox Sports 1, who told me that he could never really talk about it and put it out. But he had told Colin Cowherd about it, and Colin said it on his show, wouldn't release the source of the name. Same guy told me that there is an SEC school who's running their program like SMU back in the day. But because things are so guarded today, because of social media and the way things can get out, and now you have so many, I call it a spider web. You got so many webs and so many legs. Like, Nick Saban may truly not know. He may tell people, listen, I don't want to know nothing, okay? I'm going to go recruit the kid. You guys, here's the list of the kids I'm recruiting, okay? And you know, and that's what it is. There was a rumor that just dropped recently too that I forgot whose father was it. It came out who was secretly Zion Williamson's dad or stepdad or his dad was secret. There's a recording that kind of got shut down. Now nobody can find it. That he was privately recording asking for $200,000 for Zion Williamson. Like we know this is out there. You know, Duke brought the best basketball team that they could this year. I've been to Durham. I got family in Durham. Durham is the hood. People don't know that. That is the country hood. A lot of gangs, a lot of drugs. And you got this little white college that sits right in the middle of Durham, right across the railroad tracks. You cannot tell me that you got these 3 top 5 kids to come there because, we want to play together at Duke and not even really be coach. Because Coach K's not doing any coaching right now. They're winning games because they're more talented. But the deeper they get into the season, and when they get into the tournament and they face a senior and a junior-led team, they're not going to care who those kids are. They're going to see that name on the front of that jersey, and they're going to want to beat that ass. And they'll be home by the Sweet 16 or the Elite 8. They're not going to the Final Four. They won't make it that far. Because they're not being coached. And I know I'm jumping all over the map here, but when I talk about Saban, he makes my blood boil because he reminds me of Coach K. And I know people are going to say, you're just being Carolina biased. Okay, fine, maybe a little bit. But you cannot deny, and I can argue that he's the one who said, I'd much rather have a 3-star or 2-star kid with 5-star work ethic than a 5-star kid any day. And once Calipari and some of these other schools started catching up to him and out coaching him and beating him, now all of a sudden, over the last 6 years, he's turned to these one and done kids that he swore that he wouldn't take over a kid, and he can't coach them. If you watch Duke play, if you watch that Syracuse game, he can't coach these kids. It's all, listen, RJ Barrett, dribble, shoot, or Zion, the same pound hard dribble, spin move, or jump step dunk. It's the same shit. And when they run into a senior and a junior-led team, they're going home. I'm calling it right now. I'm guaranteeing it.
Right, and we've seen it in years past. I mean, Duke a couple of times they've been on the wrong side of upsets because you run into some of these mid-major programs that are 14, 15 seeds, and you have juniors and seniors that have played 60, 70 games together.
Yep.
Going up against these freshmen that have only been together for a few months. And what was it, Mercer?
Mercer. Yeah, Mercer.
14 seed, and then there was another one. There was, off the top of my head, man.
It'll hit me in a minute because it was like 2 within a 3-year span where he had one and dones, and they went home before by the Sweet 16.
Well, yeah, and I think even before, I think there's been a couple of
VCU.
Yes, VCU. VCU took them down, and so I mean, I don't think that necessarily. I don't think that the one and done philosophy is can hamper a team from winning a national championship. I just don't think it's as easy as people think. I thought it was ludicrous. What was it? Maybe 5 days into the season when people were saying, "Well, is this the greatest college basketball?"
Oh God!
And then they go lose a neutral site game to Gonzaga, and Gonzaga's down like 2 of their best scorers.
Yeah. Well, it was could they go undefeated? Could they beat the Fab Five? Then it started, could they beat the Cleveland Cavaliers? And I'm like, oh my goodness gracious, you guys have got to be kidding me. But that's I call that the ESPN effect. They love Duke and they love LeBron, so they're comparing Zion to LeBron. So even when the game isn't even involving Duke, they got to mention Zion. And listen, when he was deciding either between Carolina or Duke or somebody else, I went on record and told people I don't want him in Carolina. People are like, why? Why wouldn't you want him? He's a beast. I said, because every highlight I've ever seen of him is a dunk. I've not seen no post moves. I've not seen no our defense is like a block from the weak side where the guy's going for a layup and doesn't really see him coming kind of thing. I said, that's why I don't want him. And a kid like that, when that's all you show me, I'm good, man. I like what Roy does. Carolina's got 4 losses already. That's fine. And they'll probably go to the Sweet 16 this year. That's fine. But next year or probably the year after that, they'll be in the Final Four. He gets to the Final Four every 3 seasons since he's been at Carolina because he takes kids that he can coach and he coaches them up. They feed them well. They build their bodies up. And then the next thing you know, they're in the Final Four. So I'm with you on that. I think it's not only just ludicrous. I mean, Calipari only did it once with AD. If you think about all his one and done teams, none of them won the championship. And he got to it twice. He got to it with Karl Anthony Towns, and he got to it with Memphis with Derrick Rose and them kids. But neither one of those teams won the national championship.
Right. It's so hit or miss. I think it's tough in college basketball with the 68 team NCAA tournament, and I think that's why March Madness is one of the most exciting frenzy sports moments of the year. But no, I think our conversation regarding Nick Saban and Coach K kind of fall hand in hand. I think Coach K maybe not as verbose as Saban when it comes to the media. Kind of seems like more of a soft-spoken guy, and truly, he was. You remember those days? I mean, there were with John Shire and. The other kids' names aren't coming to mind, but all the
John Shire, Wojciechowski. I'm with you, bro. Like I said, I hate them, but they had some teams where he took some average kids, coached them up. Sure. Chris Duhon, Nolan Smith, and he coached those kids up and took them far. I give those teams props. I'm not gonna hate on those teams, but this one and done thing, man, is just. It kills. And listen, for teams that are tanking for Zion Williamson, guys, hold the foot. Like all my Knicks fan friends, they want the Knicks. We spoke about the Knicks earlier in this conversation. They want the Knicks to get Zion Williamson, bro. Let me tell you something. That guy, he's not even close. And I'm not a LeBron guy. He's not even close to what LeBron was as a senior in high school. Not even close. And this would be his rookie year, which was LeBron's rookie year. Because he went to college, LeBron didn't. So his year at Duke is equivalent to LeBron's rookie year. It's not even close. LeBron was playing against grown-ass men who had years on him in the league. Zion's playing against guys that are all his age and maybe a year or two older.
And with Zion, it's clearly he has the physical talent, but it takes more than that to succeed at the next level. Sure, he can bully around kids in high school. He can bully around kids at the collegiate level, as he has for the most part at Duke this season. But he's been exposed at times, and if you're getting exposed at the collegiate level, there is such a huge discrepancy between Division I college basketball and professional basketball.
Yes.
And, you can't expect Zion Williams, who's not consistently night in and night out looking like the best player in the country, to then go to the NBA and be a Rookie of the Year candidate. It just doesn't work like that. There's not the same hype around Zion. And there is the same hype around Zion as there has been with these other number one picks. But I think Ben Simmons was in a way better position coming out of college to succeed in the NBA. I think the number one picks have kind of been flawed over the past few years. I think you look at Markelle Fultz, and that's just kind of an unfortunate situation because I actually got the chance to call one of his games at Washington, and I was a big Markelle Fultz advocate, but unfortunately, the kid can't stay healthy and seems to have some other issues outside of that. But
there's some issues there, bro. The shoulder, the shooting, that's all passe to me, man. There's something else there.
Yeah, there is, and there's been some mental stuff. It's tough, man. We forget at the end of the day, these kids 19, 20, getting millions and millions of dollars, thrown at their face and expected to go out here and do these things. But at the end of the day, I'm not closing the book on Zion as an all-star in the NBA, but I certainly think that there is a lot of work to be done, and if anybody thinks that he is anywhere near a finished product or someone that can come in right away and average 15, 20 points a game, I mean, you're dead wrong.
National championship game, college playoff. We'll end it on that, man. Just did they get it right? What'd you think of the games, and what to make of the way Clemson just lambasted Alabama the way they did?
I don't, man. I every year I want to give the benefit of the doubt to Notre Dame, but I mean the last two playoff appearances they had, obviously that national championship game with Everett Golson under center didn't go well against Alabama in I believe 2012 or 2013 it was, and then this last year it's hindsight is 2020. I think it would have been a really mind-boggling thing should they have left Notre Dame out, and then Notre Dame goes to one of those New Year's Six bowl games and knocks off somebody by a couple of touchdowns. Then you're sparking. You and I both know that 4 is not enough. But for this current format, I think they got it right for the most part. I think it just really would have been tough to put Ohio State in with a 20+ point loss to a Purdue team that didn't Purdue give up like 70 to Auburn or something like that.
Yeah. That one was like 55-13. I was like, okay, all right, Purdue. Maybe Purdue just figured, hey, let's just show up, get a couple of swag, get a bag, get some T-shirts and shit, see the town, and then get our asses whipped and go home.
That's what it seemed like. So that was a horrible loss. There's no putting. They got killed. Ohio State was not competitive in that game. Should Ohio State's lone loss been a last-second field goal? I think you have more of an argument. But you look at Oklahoma's resume to that point, and really, it would have been idiotic to leave out Oklahoma and put in Ohio State. Yeah, Ohio State, they had that big win against Michigan to close it out. They won the Big Ten championship. I get it. But Oklahoma had a 3-point loss to a Texas team that participated and won a New Year's Six game, and then came back and beat that same Texas team when it really mattered on Championship Saturday. So I think they got it right, man. I really do. I think that it needs to be at least 8, and I think no matter what it is, you're always going to have a couple of teams that feel like they should get in. I mean, that's just how it is. I just don't think there's a perfect way to go about it. And I know that you and I weren't crazy fans about the BCS, but at least we could blame it on a computer instead of a committee of people that have, we're human beings, man. We're human beings. A computer is robotic. A robot has no feelings, has no opinions towards anything. You know that these members, these chairwomen on the college football playoff committee feel some type of way about something. So there's always going to be disagreements amongst, deciding who the final couple teams are to get into the playoff. It really needs to expand from 4 sooner rather than later. I think the FCS, and you and I called our fair share of FCS games this year, has a better format of 24 teams.
Yeah.
And they just go through the playoff. The first top 8 seeds get a bye, and then they host the games until the national championships at a neutral site. Now, college football would never follow that. The FBS will never follow that format. But I think it's a little less flawed because you have the automatic qualifiers from every conference, and then you have the at-large teams. And I think I've always thought it's been okay. All right, we just won the SEC championship. Our next game is in 34 days from now. Doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, nah, me neither. I don't know about 8, but if you go 8, then I guess it makes it easier, because if you say 8, then it say, okay, listen, this is the format. We're going 5 power conference champions, okay? I don't care who you are. I don't care if you got 3 losses. It doesn't matter. This is what we're going with, so you already know this coming in. We're going with the conference champion, okay? Bam. So you get the 5 conference champions. So now we'll go with 3 at large. So Notre Dame would have gotten in. Michigan would have gotten in, Georgia would have gotten in. And I think that along with Ohio State, Alabama, Clemson, who won the Pac-12 this year? Washington, and Oklahoma. And then you match up your seedings. If you're the 3 at larges, then you have to sit at the 6, 7, and 8. And then you go by power conference by the ranking. So Alabama would have been number 1. Clemson would have been number 2, Oklahoma would have been number 3, Ohio State would have been number 4, Washington would have been number 5. And there are your matchups right there. So if you're Georgia and you fall in at 8, guess what? Off the break, you get your rematch right back with Alabama. Right back. The game everybody thinks, so this is your 3rd time now. You didn't do it in the championship game. You didn't do it in the SEC championship game this year. So now you get a 3rd chance to play them again. And if you're Bama's like, okay, fine, come on, we'll beat that ass again, and we'll send your ass home again. And if you do 8, I just think, okay, if you do 8, when do you start it then? And are those 8 games bowl games, or do you just say, no, we're going to keep all the other bowls. When we get down to the final 4, then we'll pick either the Rose, the Sugar, the Fiesta, the Cotton, so on and so forth.
Right, and I thought it was rather hilarious when Georgia's players were tweeting during that Clemson beatdown of Notre Dame and saying, wow, did they really get it right? Did they really get it right? Yeah, they got it right.
Yeah, they got it right. And listen, let's I'm going to give Notre Dame a little credit here too. Because of the way Clemson beat Alabama, honestly, I go back and I look at the Notre Dame game and goes, okay, well, shit. Notre Dame got their ass whooped by him too, so you can't go, well, Notre Dame didn't deserve to be there.
I think Clemson would have done that to anybody.
Yes, absolutely. All right, hey, listen, I appreciate you, brother, man. This has been good, man. This is an hour. I think you might be one of the longest guests I've ever had on the show, but I ain't talked to you in a while, man. I know you're busy. I know you're on the road a lot. I hope things work out where I can call the game against CSUN and Cal Poly and my wife's alma mater, Riverside. Yeah, that's what she graduated from for her undergrad. She's at SC now for grad school for her master's program. So she rocks a lot of Trojan gear around here now. So I'm like, oh God, now I got to live with this shit. I'm a Big Ten guy. Now I got to live with all this Pac-12 shit in the house. And then we have a kid. I'm pretty sure she's going to put SC stuff on. And I got no personal beef with SC. It's just a Big Ten, Pac-10, formerly Pac-10 thing I grew up with because of the Rose Bowl and being a Michigan fan. But I was a Reggie Bush guy. I like Keyshawn when he was at college. You mentioned Robert Woods. He's back home. I mean, he went to J. Sierra out in L.A. I called their game against John Bosco, your alma mater, where you went to school. So, they've always had a few players. I like Steve Smith when Steve Smith was there. I was a big Matt Barkley fan. I hated that he didn't work out in the NFL because I was a pom-pom pusher for Matt Barkley, man. I thought Barkley was going to be a really good NFL quarterback. And, like you said, you giving kids millions of dollars. There's a lot of variables when it comes to going from college. It's just like in our industry, man. We're calling what we're calling now. I mean, hell, I went from standing on top of a press box at a high school to inside an air-conditioned Division I stadium within a matter of 3 or 4 weeks. Didn't change my ego, but I tell you this, if I start calling Michigan and Fox games and Ohio State games, I ain't gonna lie, man. I might stop eating oodles and noodles. I might tell my wife, hey, we don't eat oodles and noodles anymore, okay? You know, I might change a little bit too. Money changes you slightly. I don't think you gotta be a complete asshole, but I do believe money does change. But when you talk about from sleeping in a dorm to sleeping in a mansion in a span of 6 months, it happens that fast, man, for some of these kids. And it's hard. I thought that's what happened to Barkley. I think the league was just too much for him. He had coaches because he was in Philly with Andy Reid, and I just couldn't understand why he could not get on. And I watched him in Modern Day, man. Like this is before I started covering sports. I was literally just going to the games just to watch him. That's how good I thought he was.
You know the acronym CREAM, right?
Come on, man. I'm black. I'll tell you like this. If you ever meet a black dude that don't know the acronym of cash rules everything around me, you got to pull his black. Like he can't have no Kool-Aid for like 2 weeks. He not no Kool-Aid, no fried chicken. You can't listen to no Biggie, no Pac, no Snoop. You gotta listen to Taylor Swift for 2 weeks. You ain't even allowed to be black if you don't know what that means. But nah, I feel you, brother, man. Listen,
we got to make this happen again.
No, listen, no. I love the way you talking. I've only heard you on the broadcast side. Now that I've got a taste of your sports radio-ness, man. Like I had an idea, bro. I'm always in creative mode, man. You know me.
You gotta be.
I'm always in creative mode, man. So trust me, I got an idea. We might have to start a VJ Vernon and Chris Sylvester Sports Talk podcast once a week, man, because I love our chemistry and I like your takes and the way you deliver. Trust me, I have hundreds of guests on my show, and I never knock anybody. I let everybody have the floor. Everybody gets to talk. But after the show, there's some good guests, there's some okay guests, there's some great guests, and then there's some bad guests. I text friends back and be like, "Yo, bro, you got to come stronger than that next time, man." Like you didn't know what to really say, and you got silent on me. You can't get silent, bro. Dead air is the worst thing in radio. So no, you come in as a great guest, bro. So trust me, we'll talk on the side, man. So I appreciate you. I appreciate you coming in, bro.
Thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. We'll get up, man. Hopefully I can do those games, and man, hopefully I'll be seeing you next week.
Yes, sir.
We'll have you on. Let's do this. We'll have you on next week. We'll talk Super Bowl.
Let's do it.
All right, brother. Stay blessed, man. Appreciate you, bro.
Stay up.
All right, man.
Thank you.
My man, Chris Sylvester. Good kid, man. Good guy. He is the reason why I was able. For those of you who have seen me calling games for Fox Sports West, calling games for ESPN, the radio, doing all my football stuff I was doing this year, to be honest with you guys, it was this gentleman, along with my homeboy, Rashawn Haylock, who's also out here, who's a born and raised LA guy, works for Fox Sports West. He put me in contact with Chris. They called me one night on a Thursday night. It's about 10:30. I get a text message that says, "Can you talk?" I said, "Yeah." I get a call. He goes, "Listen, I know it's last minute, but I need a favor." I said, "What's up? What do you need?" He goes, "Would you like to call a high school football game tomorrow for Max Prep Sports?" I didn't even think about it. All I said was, "Yep, where, what time?" Happened to be at Thousand Oaks Christian High School, big time college program, high school program out here that's put kids in the NFL, many kids in Division I. The number 1 player in the year ranked this year, Kayvon Thibodeau, is at Oregon. They had the number 5 ranked running back on their team this year. They've had, his name was Zach Charbonnet, who plays for Michigan now. Casey Clausen, if you remember him, that went to Notre Dame, played there. Joe Montana's son played quarterback there. Wayne Gretzky's kid played there. Will Smith's oldest son, Trey Smith, he played there. It's a very prestigious celebrity school, if you will. It's almost like Crossroads, where LeBron's son plays. Jack Black went there. There's a female actress. I can't think of her name. I'm so sorry, guys. A female actress and a female singer who also went there. It's a big entertainment school and drama art school, and a big sports program over there too. Sierra Canyon's another school out here. That's where Scottie Pippen Jr. plays. That's where Kenya Martin's son plays right now. I'll be covering their game one night next week. So that was my first game, and it was through Chris Sylvester and through Rashawn Haylock. And then Chris listened to the call, and he hit me up that night. He goes, "Bro, you were awesome." I had never called the game before, guys. I literally did about 2 hours of research on my laptop till about 1 in the morning. Got some sleep because I had to work earlier that next day. Went in, came home, did a little more research. I showed up with my little notebook and I put the headset on. I shook the guy's hand who was there. My boy, shout out to my man Nick, who I called I called like 4 or 5 games with this year as the color commentary. He did play by play. And we put the headset on and I looked down on the field and I found the player numbers that I needed to talk about. And I started calling high school football, man. And it was all because that guy liked me on the first game. And from that point on, he started sending me. I was driving 3 hours, 4 hours to high schools. But these are big time high schools, big name programs where I was calling games. And it was because of Chris Sylvester. So that's our connection. And one night I'm driving out to a game. My old car, I have a new car now, but my old car, my old black 4-door hatchback Suzuki Reno, started overheating and smoking on the 101 on a Friday afternoon in Los Angeles traffic. So I had to pull over, let my car cool down, drive it. It overheated again. I got it close enough to home to kind of push it about 2 blocks and then just put it on the side of the road. Come inside. I didn't even want to deal with the rest of the night. I took a shower. I called my wife at work. I went to sleep. I get up the next day, feeling a little down. Wasn't totally depressed, but feeling a little down because I didn't get a chance to go call the game. And I'm thinking, God, man, this guy's going to think I'm unreliable because I didn't make it to the game last night, ruining my chances here to call more games for Fox Sports West and to call more games for Max Prep Sports. And I get a phone call that morning. He goes, I know it's last minute, but do you want to call a Division I college football game today? And he told me what it paid. He goes, the thing is 3 hours from you. And I'm like, wow, 3 hours. Okay, let me see. I said, give me an hour. I'll call you back. Called my wife, told my wife she was getting her nails done or something like that. Called and told her. She goes, don't worry about it, honey. I'll rent you a car. Because you don't have your car because your car broke down the previous night. I'll rent you a car. My wife rents the car. I go in my bedroom, I take a shower, I get my suit out, I iron the suit, I get dressed, I get in the car. Her and my dog, Woodson, walk me out to the car, give me a big hug and kiss, and send me off to call my first Division I college football game for ESPN Radio, 1080 up there in San Luis Obispo, California, at Cal Poly University. Mind you, the same university that John Madden went to and started his commentating and broadcasting career. And I drive 3 hours up there. I walk in. It's my first time meeting Chris face to face because everything else from then has just been through phone call, through text, and through email. I shake his hand. It's about 15 minutes before kickoff. I got all my notes for the game. He hands me my press pass. I put the headset on, and I call my first college football game. The message board lights up. True stuff, guys. Message board lights up. Who's this guy? About time you guys got a color guy that's unbiased and calls the game for real and calls the plays. I actually feel like I'm watching the game, listening. He's reading all of this and showing it to me on his phone while we're calling the game. And they booked me to do 4 more games up there. Hopefully I'll be in contract talks to be up there again this year to permanently be. I was filling in for somebody in my first time. So to permanently be the color commentary for Cal Poly Mustangs football program, which I would love to do because I know the program now. I know the team. I feel like I could go in there and I could actually commentate off of what I saw last year. And that way I'll be able to go to spring practice. I'll be able to go to summer practice, cover the team like that. That's how this business works, man. That's the joy of this stuff. And that's what I'm really shooting for. So that's Chris Sylvester. Great guest there, man. And I appreciate him being there. And I hope you guys enjoyed that segment. And like I said, my creative juices are always flowing. And what I really saw right there was that me and that guy, we might need to have our own show. I love our chemistry, man. Want to take a quick break before I come back and wrap up the show, but I want to introduce what I'm going to play for you guys. I'm actually building my show bigger and better and getting sponsors and getting commercial breaks and things like that. When you log on now, you see advertisements on my show. So I'm actually able to make a financial, and I just found this out, I got the email a few days ago. There's advertisements on my show when you start it, when you finish it, which means now I make a little coin off my show. Not a lot, just a little bit. Maybe go get a little banana split Sunday, share it with my wife on a Saturday night after hanging out or something like that. Hey, a little bit, just a little pocket change. Ain't nothing but a little pocket change. That's all it is. But I do have the ability to broaden the show and put more things on it. So when I take commercial breaks, I usually play music for you guys. But a fellow comedian friend of mine, Jason Headley, does something called the Rock and Wrap Up, where he kind of pokes fun at some of the celebrity news and things and events that are going on. And I always thought it was hilarious and funny and very creative. He's always been a good associate to me since I've been out here in Los Angeles. We've done comedy shows together. He's hosted shows we've done together. He's given me comedy advice and advice about the business and things of that nature. So when I heard it, I said, bro, if you don't mind, I want to use that. I want to help market your stuff, and I want to use that, man. So use it as talk breaks and things like that. So with other shows that say, and here's Christine with the news, or here's John with the score updates, or here's this with the that, and this with the that. Here on VJs Unsportsmanlike Conduct, when we go to break from now on, every now and then, especially through the week, and definitely every Friday show, because he releases these every Friday and then various days during the week, I will say, and we'll take a quick break, but right now, here is Jason Headley with the Rock and Wrap Up.
It's the Hollywood Rock and Wrap Up with your host, Jason Hadley. Khloe Kardashian was seen filming an episode of her family's reality show at an LA area mall, wearing a hat that read Kanye for President. Claiming he'll be running for office in 2024, his wife Kim Kardashian already has several years of political experience, most of it being Kanye's regular polling place. Producers confirm Bryan Singer will still continue to be attached to the remake of 1985's Red Sonja, despite a new crop of child molestation charges against the director. Most of the characters will likely have very little total screen time and dialogue, as Bryan Singer is clearly into minor parts. Happy birthday to Alicia Keys, who at 38, if this girl is still on fire, it's these days also accompanied by itching and, well, I'd suggest wearing more breathable fabrics. And that's the Hollywood Rock and Wrap Up. Follow us on Twitter at Rock and Wrap Up.
Jason Headley with the Rock and Wrap Up, man. Welcome back to VJs on Sportsmanlike Conduct. That's good stuff. I don't care what you guys say. That's funny stuff, man. You can follow him on Twitter, Jason Hadley, Hadley, man. Also, congratulations, Jason, when you hear this. He is a new father for the very first time. Him and his wife had a beautiful baby girl. So to wrap up today's show, as I started earlier, we talked about James Harden. Like I said, I think this is just where the league is going as far as scoring is concerned. I'm not as impressed as other people, but I understand why people are. But I'm not going to bang on it like it doesn't matter. It's not a big deal. It's 61 points, 50-point scoring games. They tear these on. I think the league has changed to where it favors guys to be able to do this more, especially with the way they call fouls and the way that no defense is played in the NBA. And as Van Gundy says, Jeff, when he's doing the games, guys don't box out. They just don't box out. So he could go grab 15 boards with his 61 points. You got Russell Westbrook, who's averaging another triple-double. He is averaging another triple-double, people. Think about that. Again, this is something that should be celebrated. But this is the part of sports media that I can't stand, because I'm going to bang on LeBron to the day that I can't talk and do radio no more. If it was LeBron doing it, you guys would be saying it's the greatest season ever. He did a triple-double. Nobody did that but Oscar Robertson. But when Westbrook does it, it's ball hogging. We talked about Barry Bonds also, and I'm glad Chris had his take on Barry Bonds. I am not as big as a Barry Bonds fan as other people are, especially him. I do believe he is probably the greatest hitter we've ever seen, but Ken Griffey Jr. is still my favorite player, the best 5'2" player I've seen of all time. They do only have 3 years left, so I'm glad that I got that piece of information, because I did miss on that. So thank you for the correction, Chris Sylvester. On that, they have 3 more years, and I you know what? I hope they do get in. I really do, because we need to move on, and I believe they will. I believe next year it'll be 60-something%. And then I believe the year after that, it'll be close to 70 in the early 70s. And then that third and final year, I think that's when Clemens and Bonds, or at least Bonds, will get into the Hall of Fame. Times are changing. I really do believe that people are starting to forget and let the steroid era go, because we are really 20 plus years past it. Diva receivers I talked about, Antonio Brown put out on Twitter, open for business. I think it's a bad move if your team goes after him. Maybe the Patriots, because the Patriots seem to be the only team that can handle guys like him. But we've also seen guys go there and can't get with the system, can't get with the playbook, can't get with the culture, and then they're gone and out of there. I know Reggie Wayne was past his prime. I understand Moss went there, did some great things. They didn't win a Super Bowl with him. They tried Ocho Cinco, didn't work. They tried Josh Gordon, didn't work. They've tried a few guys that just has not worked up there. Cordell Patterson was a receiver at Tennessee, return specialist, turn now. That's what he's turned into. He's returned into a return specialist and kind of a clutch or a go-to guy when they need him, or when Edelman's being double teamed, or Hogan can't get open, or when Gronk has been hurt. But you do not need the diva receiver to win championships anymore. I honestly feel like times have changed on that. You don't need it anymore, and it's not as prevalent as important if you have all the other pieces you need to win a championship. Also, with the Pro Bowl and the All-Star game, times have changed because those games used to be really good. They used to be really fun to watch. They're putrid. They're horrific. They're terrible. They're piss poor. They're bad. They just need to get rid of them. I would get rid of these games. They don't mean anything. Turn it into just an all-star weekend of events, competitions. Go back to the 40-yard dash with the players, or the 50-yard dash with the players, fastest man in the NFL. Go back to the bench pressing. I like the dodgeball stuff. I like some of that. Go back to the quarterback accuracy with the targets moving. You got to hit the bullseye for certain points. Things that go back to the receiver drills and catches and skills competitions. Make it a whole weekend of that. Do all the awards and stuff that weekend. Get everything in. Save it for after the Super Bowl so the Super Bowl participants can go too. I hate the fact that the Super Bowl participants don't get to participate in Pro Bowl week or weekend because they're going to the Super Bowl. Move it back. And also, for Pete's sake, and I don't never say Pete's sake, but I'll say it for this, move it back to Hawaii. That was a vacation for a lot of those guys. And the reason why they played and cared about the game at some point, because most of them used that game check to pay for all the fun that them and their family and all their family members and stuff that they flew out to Hawaii for the Pro Bowl. And then also, too, to finish up, I do feel that when certain players are gone, i.e. LeBron James, as he's been for the last month, it's made the NBA a little more watchable, and it's made the coverage of the NBA a whole lot better. You cannot like it, or you can feel what I'm saying, or understand where I'm coming from. It's not coming from a malicious place. It's just coming from where we want to hear different stories. We don't want to hear the same stuff all the time about the same guy in the same storyline over and over and over and over and over again. Talk about some of the other guys. Talk about Milwaukee, how well they're doing this year. Talk about how well Leonard is playing up in Toronto. Talk about how the Spurs are starting to kind of turn the corner here with their team. The Denver Nuggets. We look at Golden State. I was on a show about a month and a half ago, and the host of that show looked at me and said, I think Golden State's in trouble. I looked at him and laughed and said, it's the second week in December, bruh. Relax. Now we see what they look like. Now we see that they're kind of hitting that gear. They got Boogie in motion now. It's about to get real ugly in the NBA. And a quick sidebar for my man Rafael Nadal, who won his match in straight sets, 6-2, 6-4, 6-0, to get to the finals of the Australian Open. He's about to win Grand Slam number 17. It's him and Djokovic. I can't wait because I don't like Djokovic neither, even though he's damn good. He's a great tennis player. He's a champion. But Rafa Nadal is my guy. Vomos Rafa. Also, on another quick sidebar with the draft coming up, I'm telling you guys, watch for movement in this draft. A lot. I think there's going to be more movement in the top 10 picks or teams jumping up into the top 10 than we have ever seen before. Because even though people think it's a weak quarterback class, doesn't mean you can't find your quarterback. It may be a weak class, but your guy might still be there. You got Nick Bosa, who is a big-time pass rusher off the end from Ohio State, who had a groin injury and then said, hey, I'm done. I'm not playing no more college football. I'm leaving school. I'm leaving the team. I'm going to get prepared for the NFL draft and get ready to go into the league. You got a bunch of guys in this draft that can really make a difference on your team, and they may not fall to you, but you also got Kyler Murray out there, who is the wild card, and you got Josh Rosen sitting there in Arizona, and if they decide to draft Kyler Murray, now you can start talking some trade pieces there. And then I brought up Cam Newton. I think it's time for a change of scenery for Cam Newton. I would like to see Cam Newton either move on somewhere else where they're going to put at least some receivers with him, some actual good receivers that he can throw the ball to. Cam's got to work on his mechanics too and work on being a better quarterback in certain aspects of quarterbacking. I get that, and I'll agree with you guys on that too. But at the end of the day, sometimes a change of scenery is much better for a lot of players. And I think this situation, it will work for both parties. Appreciate everybody listening to Live VJs on Sports with Like Conduct, live on Spreaker.com. Don't forget to check out my new YouTube page, Vesson Sports Network. You can catch the show there. You can catch the show on iHeartRadio. iHeartRadio still podcasts it. It'll be up in about 5 minutes after we finish live. iHeartRadio, throw it up. You can also catch it there. Also, too, picked up some new listeners in Germany. I appreciate you guys out there. Dankeschön. Yeah, y'all didn't know I was an international player. I speak that. Dankeschön, Germany. I probably said that wrong, but German people know what I was trying to say. I love you guys, man. God bless. And if you don't, and listen, if you can't be good, then at least be good at it. I'm Vernon VJ Husky. I'm out of here. God bless. I'll see you guys next week. Have a good weekend, guys.